welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to the 40k Thursday show, the penultimate one before Christmas. There's this, and then maybe the Christmas show next week. However, don't let that get you down, because we've got all of tonight to go first. And I'm joined by some special guests. Nicky Gervais is on the show. Nick, hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. Real pleasure. And then we're also joined by the torso of Tom Layton.
What was the name of that American player who had a really cool name?
Trent Northington?
Trent Northington of Northington Hall. There he is. Yeah. I've had his kids, and now I'm just making warglaives.
Tom, we can only see your nipples right now.
I mean, you can tell how excited I'm getting.
So please keep it there.
Yeah.
Don't adjust your camera.
Don't stand up, Tom. Don't stand up.
So welcome everyone to the show. Owen Jackson, thanks for subscribing. And Encore GM, thanks for subscribing as well. And he says, I can't wait to see the App of the Year awards from earlier. And also for subscribing for 24 months. Owen for 27 months. You guys are legends. Couldn't appreciate you more. Thank you so much for being here. Will Dockerell, now welcome to the show. Default. Fear Sean, I hope you're all well. K Dread, Marty 8, Hoy. What's going on? Trent Northington is a real G. I love him.
I love that guy. Show, I want to meet him one day.
Oh, me too. Me three. Today's show, we're just talking hobby. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do some 40k hobby. Specifically because, and this is really important, we still haven't done the Blood Angels Codex review. But, Tom, your exact words were earlier.
Let me just read it. 1 second. I need to scroll up a long way now. You shouldn't have.
Can we just thank Cuss12345 for joining for the very first time? Welcome. First time you've
welcome aboard.
Ever subscribed. I don't know what it got yet.
What swung the decision to subscribe all of a sudden? What was it? Christmas cheer?
Singlets. So my exact words were, I don't mind, I'd rather not start Blood Angels, as one, I seriously can't be fucked with another supplement, but if you guys want to, I don't mind, and two, it'd mean we'd have to do part 2 on Christmas Eve, and I'd rather have a chill show next week.
Agreed.
So what you've got all there, folks, is you've got Patreon benefits for free, which are my show notes.
Those are our show notes for this week. Yeah, talking about Blood Angels, I am going to bring up Blood Angels in the conversation later. Talking about Blood Angels really can't be asked, so we're not going to. Dave Doge over on YouTube, we can see your YouTube comments. Thanks very much for tuning in.
We see you, Dave. We see you.
You got me. It was Tom's nipples. That's why he subscribed. Sorry. Man or woman, we're not sure. But
excellent taste that you've got over there. Yeah, and man or woman, I'm not fussed either, so we love it.
There's some questions coming in, Nick and Tom are obviously on the show as well, so loads to unpack here. Thanks to everyone on the Patreon for the Honest Wargamer who subscribes to the show and makes it so we can do what we do. You guys are great. Thank you to everyone who listens to the podcast. Please do stay hydrated. Love you loads, and thank you to everyone who has joined us live. You will see a little donation bar in the middle. I'm going to talk about that later. That's not right for now, because we had a question hot off the press for Nicky Gervais. I hope Nicky's scriptwriter got a nice Christmas bonus for his work on the award show earlier. Some of the jokes were hot fire. Nicky Gervais, would you like to respond?
Well, thank you very much for that positive feedback. I had a lot of fun writing them, and I'm glad that you guys enjoyed them. If you did enjoy them, thank you. I enjoyed them as well.
I enjoyed them.
It was nice, just being able to take the piss out of some apps.
It was very, very fun. I liked playing the
some of them I enjoyed
situation.
Yeah, some of them I enjoyed more than others.
Yeah, and in response, Games Workshop decided to leak their app development team.
They did. Was that a direct response to the app of the year?
Yeah.
Did we get a direct response from Games Workshop from the app of the year? I wish the Games Workshop intern were in the house, so then we would know. But if you guys didn't see, we did the App of the Year awards earlier. Me and Nick hosted. Tom, unfortunately, unable to host this year. But next year's planning on playing roving reporter in the crowd.
Tom was asleep.
Yeah. I think Games Workshop directly responded by announcing who the head of development for the app was. I did tweet that I wouldn't want to be I wouldn't want that on my resume. Do you know what I mean? That's like that's like radar controller at Pearl Harbor. Yeah, there's a whole. I mean, no, I'm not making that joke. Anyway, there's a lot bad, is my point. I wouldn't want that to be on my job title. Nick, got any thoughts?
No, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a follow-up article from him, passing the book
Denying
on
all
to someone
knowledge.
else. Going, well, actually, I wasn't involved. It was the interns who did it all. Wasn't me, honest. I'm just like overseeing, and I was on holiday for most of it. Anyway.
Also, COVID. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah,
COVID.
also COVID. Also
You couldn't
COVID.
Also
come and
COVID.
expect that personally.
And I was sick. And my dog ate all my meeting notes from the original meeting. And then I fell over, and then that was it.
What I really enjoyed was, I think Scott B in the chat, by the way, who this week, can we all congratulate him? He won, him and his development team, or wherever he works, or him himself, won an award this week for building an app. Obviously,
Oh, really?
not from the App
Not-
Awards.
No, not from our App Awards, no.
Not very prestigious then, is it, really?
Well, it's not as prestigious as our App
Yeah.
Awards, obviously.
No.
But yeah, big congratulations to him. Dude, I see you in the chat, you gorgeous man. I hope you're well. Yeah, so... do they really? Anyway, I don't really know I'm taking this. Anyway, Nick, Nick, I'm gonna. Tom, I'll ask you. We haven't seen much of you today. Tommy, how you been? What's been going on?
Good, thanks, bro. I spent a lot of time driving yesterday just to get all these toys in. So I bought a few bits and bobs, mainly because I knew I was running out of air paint from my Crag Blue. So I've gone down, got that sorted out. And I'm now trying to work on my Imperial shelves, get those all sorted, hopefully for the end of the Christmas holidays.
Okay, well that's very, very exciting. And what did you say you were working on model-wise? Because today's a hobby clinic
So
with the 40
today, so as you know, I've been playing a lot of Eldar just because everyone's calling them shit, and by everyone, I of course mean Goonhammer. That's going okay until I saw the Death Guard rules. Now it's going less okay. But in response, I decided that my next faction that I'm going to make not shit are Imperial Knights. That's probably not going to work, but I also...
Quite a challenge.
Well, you could decide that that's why I've done it, or you could decide that I've done it to fill out some shelving space in my office. That is one of the two reasons. So I have got in front of me today 2 Armiger Warglaives that I will be cutting up quietly with my mic muted so you don't get clicking all the time. As I attempt to start sticking them on a cardboard base to go and spray later, and once they're all done, so I don't have to go outside in the cold, I am going to be painting a Crusader, which is sat here, and I'll be making my way through that.
Are you gluing them together before you're painting them, or are you doing similar to what you did with your Marines and painting them in tiny little bits?
I'll show you what I've got here, Nicholas. So here is my lead belcher tray. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be assembling things in lead belcher sized components. So I've got the torso here, but without the top bit. So the top bit is going to be sprayed Macragge Blue, and these bits are going to be sprayed lead belcher. And then once I've done that, I'm going to fully glue it all together and then just do the detailing, and it should be fine. And then I've got some legs that are also going to get put on. So we're kind of we're part assembling and then spraying, and then we're doing the rest of the assembling. So that should work, hopefully.
Nice one. So you just so splitting it up in for a nice efficient spraying and base coating.
Yes, exactly. Spot on, mate.
Right. Well,
the first of today's hobby tips.
Yay!
The first of today's hobby tips. Excellent. We're all doing some hobby today on the show. So if you guys are doing some hobby, please do let us know what's happened. I just want to say big shout out. Big shout out to Tristan for picking himself up a Lariel the Everqueen. That is a classic Wall Street bets or Warhammer bets take there. Buying
Stonks.
low
Buying low
when the stocks are low. That's smart. Gitley, thank you for the pun earlier, who said, Tom, do you feel like the Games Workshop app is really on brand for Games Workshop? Hilarious.
Hey, banner.
Hilarious joke.
Perfect.
Which I will use all the time. Every time the app fucks up, I'll be like, that's on brand.
Imagine stealing someone else's jokes.
I'm stealing that joke because it's probably the best joke in the world right now. Anyway. Big shout out to Ziggy, Pragmatic. I hope you're well. Nick, what hobby are you doing right now, baby?
Well, I finished off a tiny little hobby project I started a while ago. So, if people remember a few, what seems like years ago now, the Necron Codex came out and they had protocols. So I I saw a movement tray that I had spare. So it was like a 32mm base 5-man movement tray, like spaced out. And I thought, oh, because the mechanic has 5 turns, I'll use that as like a physical aid to help me remember the protocols and also to reveal it to my opponent. So I've painted it up like my Necron warriors, so like rusty and stuff like that. And I've got 6 32 more bases with a magnet on, and I put some metal at the bottom of the movement tray so all the bases magnetize in.
Are those the Element Games 40mm magnetized trays?
I think they're the 32mm ones.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then I wrote on each base I've written different protocols, so the Eternal Guardian, Undying Legions, etc. And then there's a numbered space. So turns 1 to 5. So what I'll do at the start of the game, I'll put them in secretly so they get turned upside down. Like, God, if you can see that. Almost falling into my wet palette. There we go. So they get put into the tray like that. Don't know if you can see that. And then I turn it over when it's that turn.
Cool.
Okay, smart.
So it just represents the protocol I'm in as like a physical aid. My opponent knows I'm not cheating or making it up. So there you go. Not that the protocols are huge buffs anyway, but yeah, it's just a nice little project I finished.
Yeah, I like it, mate. That's good.
But then I've also started painting my Plague Marines.
You and me both, brother.
So there you go. Painting them up. I'm going for just classic Plague Marine color scheme. The one on the box. That's what I'm doing this time. And then I'm going to use a product that Rob, you've been using.
Yes. Yeah. The Streaking Grime. Yeah.
Streaking Grime.
Streaking Grime. Yeah, I've been using that. It's wonders. Does wonders. Really, really good on like big vehicles. I'm struggling a little bit with it on like smaller models at the minute, but I'm going to pick up some different Q-tips / I don't know what other people call them. Cotton buds, basically. There's some particularly pointed ones from.
Yeah, Scruvo recommended some makeup removal ones, didn't he? That he uses. Yes,
exactly. The ones he uses. So there's some. So they're pretty fun. But I've been doing them. I'm not gonna lie. Just before I did this, I banged out like a whole Primaris army. So I did 30 Intercessors, 20 Hellblasters, and 10 Inceptors. I think I've probably spent as long now doing 10 Plague Marines as I've spent doing that entire range.
There's a lot of detail on those models, isn't there?
It's just phenomenal.
So much more than the Primaris Marines.
So much more, and I'm not even like taking it like I'm still doing it what I would consider to be like speed.
Quick.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was speaking to Curtis downstairs, so the T Sports Arena is the second floor of a building. Downstairs is located. There's a place called the Mini Factorum, which is Gary and a group of guys, and then there's another room which is Curtis, and he runs this thing called Ramshackle Games, and they make they do not injection molding. Whatever they do, some sort of they make minis.
Vacuum molding.
Vacuum molding. They sculpt them. The whole thing is super cool. And I don't know where the story was going.
He painted a Typhus recently. I saw that on Facebook, and his Nurgle style is really nice. I don't know if you've seen it.
He put Cocoa Pops in it.
Yeah. He showed me that before. So he gets Cocoa Pops and he puts it in clear resin, does he?
Yeah. And he says it doesn't go off. So if you guys go onto Ramshackle Games, there's a blog post of him having made his Typhus, which he did super quick. What was I saying? Fuck knows.
You were saying that Primaris Marines have got no detail to you, and the Plague Marines taking you ages.
They're just taking me ages. Is a simple answer. Like they're taking ages. And there doesn't really seem to be a way to speed that process up, other than just fucking crack on with it. And there are loads of them.
There is.
There are loads of them. So it's like a steep mountain to climb, and one of those things that I definitely can feel, like I'm sure everyone else can feel, is how difficult it is to face such an insurmountable mountain in some cases. Like who was in the chat? Someone was saying they're doing 15 dudes or 17. I've got 70. I'm a good demon on this. Has got 17 Necron warriors to go. And just knowing you've got that 17 Necron warriors to go is like horrific. Like I know Ziggy's in the chat, and Ziggy loves like just sculpting a model for like 8 to 14 weeks, I think. it's what he
Just
likes
one,
to do.
yeah.
Just one. Because some people are perfectionists, right? Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not even picking out all the core detail on these Plague Marines because there's just so much. And I reckon if you're a really talented painter, you could probably just do Plague Marines for the rest of your life and have the best time. Because they seem really kit-bashable as well. You can build some really fun models. So, yeah, that's really it.
I don't think they are kit bashable, but like the problem with them, like the newer kits, they kind of give you quite prescribed poses. So it's not as easy as it used to be, I think, to kit bash stuff. But it is still possible with a little bit of work. Not loads, but like a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So yeah, like I mean, I think everyone who's tuned into the show has known that I've been painting up the Death Guard, and I'm really enjoying the experience. And I've kind of set myself a deadline for just before Christmas. Obviously, we got the all-day Christmas stream coming up, so looking forward to with special guests from around the world. So looking forward to that, and it would be quite nice to do something else leading up to that. But honestly, it just seems like an insurmountable amount right now. So instead of doing all 40 at once, I don't know what you've done, I've decided to do 10 at a time. To feel like
I think that's definitely a good good way to approach it, because you can just like there's a lot of brass trimming on it. So if you're doing 40, then you just get sick of it. Whereas you treat yourself to do the green, to do the little worm things that are poking out of them. As a little treat to yourself, and then breaking it up into little bite-sized chunks is just helps keep it fresh and interesting.
Yeah, I've done the same with my Grey Knights because they're all just silver, so I'm just like, well,
it's just much easier.
It's not exciting. Well, just breaking it apart into like groups of 10, I feel is way more, keeps it fresh.
Yeah, I think it's easier.
And Rob, you said from doing your shows with Henry Steele, your new approach is to have one project on the go at once. Mm-hmm. I personally disagree with that view. Okay. Partly because of this, what you're saying. You say you've got all your Death Guard to do, but then you really want like it seems insurmountable at the minute, and you're kind of pushing yourself to get it done because of that rule where you've got to have this project and finish it. Whereas I like to have multiple different projects on the go at once for that reason. So if you get bored of it, you can just do the other one.
Well, no, it's more. It's more. So I want to finish all the Death Guard, right? The Henry thing is, so I've got 10 Marines in front of me, so I'm just doing the 10 Marines, and then I move them to the side, and then I'm going to add 10 Marines in. But like, I don't mean do all of the Death Guard as one project. That's not what I mean. I more mean one unit in front of me. So when I come when I come in near the computer or to my hobby area, there's not like 10 Marines.
It's not overwhelming.
Yeah, an orc buggy, a special like Grey Knights character, whatever, an assassin. It's just those 10 dudes, and then you just stick them to the side. So if I do want to put something in between them, like a minute ago I was thinking, well, maybe I'll do the 10 Marines, and then I'll do 3 of the Blight Drones. And then I'll do 10 more Marines, and then I'll do a special character. And then I'll do 10 more Marines. But it's still just like one lot at a time, basically. And that's really helped me over this year, because I've painted like a fuck ton this year. So that's helped me. But talking about doing stuff in the chat, I see that Owen has painted up his first model in 6 months. He's done a Claw Lord. So congratulations to him. It's nice. He's got the bud back. I've been trying to convert this Tomb King Mega Gargant. Holy shit, if I'm done by 2020, I'll be happy, says Tomb King Christian. Has anyone seen my friend Pegasix's
what's the Tomb King Mega Gargant? Is it based on the actual Gargant then?
Yeah, I would assume so, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Gabawaki, start time for the Christmas stream. That's a great question. It's going to be whenever the hell I like, because it's Christmas. But maybe like 10 or 11, maybe. I might like get real into it like super early anyway. Good plan. You want milestones making armies, and every time you finish a squad is just an awesome feeling. Sergeant Rolf, I agree. I've done whole armies like batched before, and that felt awful. So just doing like a squad at a time has been. It
feels good when you finish it though.
It does. It does. Like like
not enough.
Like Tom, you're building that squad now. It feels so nice when you just build the unit and you're like, cool, that's a job done.
Yeah.
Like
getting those little kicks every so often, right?
Yeah.
Getting those hits of I have finished a thing, rather than having to just paint like 400 models or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Although when I did the dippening, I did 180 boys at once, and that felt pretty good.
Yeah, but Nick, you're
Although I
an
did
insane
mental,
hobbyist.
You're mental, mate.
Yeah, you're an insane hobbyist. Me and Tom are like your hobby proteges. Yeah. Like me and Tom are rewarding ourselves when we like do a squad that doesn't look like a 5-year-old throwing paint at it. So
true.
Oh, Will Dockerell, thanks for donating
Nice.
£6.90 to the show.
Nice.
And also, big shout out, Will, to the new fund that we have up for over Christmas. I've set up a 3D printer fund, Nick.
Oh my word. We're going to have so many naked boys by the end of that.
Oh, lordy lord. There's so much to unpack with this. I'm not necessarily... I don't even necessarily want to talk about it today, because I just want to talk 40k and hobby with you guys. Yeah. Tomorrow, me and Owen are doing an awesome show on all the lists from 2 different events that happen on Saturday. So I don't really want to talk about it then either. So I might talk about it on Saturday. But basically, a quick TLDR. I'd really like to get a 3D printer in the TSN arena. James, who does all the merch from the Monday show, he is printing all of the terrain for the T-Sports arena. I'm going to be painting it up. I've been talking to you guys about doing all the 40k boards so we can run tournaments here, right? And we looked at a bunch of different stuff, and the most cost-effective way that we could see to produce it, other than like tin cans and Pringles cans and stuff, would be like to do some really quality stuff to 3D print it. So thankfully James already has one, which is super cool. So he's printing that out, but it is 96 bits of terrain. That's how many you have to make. Fuck yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah.
That's a reverse 69, so that's pretty...
I didn't thought of that. Wait, check my math for me though. 12 times 8. Is that 96? Or is it 92?
Yeah, it is 96.
Okay, nice. Perfect.
Oh, Grim Slacker! Can I thank Grim Slacker, who's in the chat right now? Thank you so much the other day. Yeah. He donated £69.69 to the show, and I am putting that money towards it. I'm so glad you came out. I couldn't find a way to message you, and I wanted to thank you so much for donating that the other day. You're an angel. That's going in the fund. So, I've already taken that off the total. You're a legend. Thank you so much, Grim Slacker. I'm going to message you. It was really nice here. Anyway, it's just a thing, because no one else... thanks, Dude Our Day, for donating £7.65. Fucking, let's go.
Nice.
You babe.
Yeah.
But it's because... I think also it would be really good to have first-hand experience of doing some 3D printing. I don't know about you guys, because I'm looking at some of the stuff that's coming out at the minute, especially... Nick, you and me have done a show about being frugal with Warhammer, and Tom, you've obviously built up an entire naked Custodes army which is 3D printed.
That was thanks to sorry again in the chat though, so I can't claim credit for that one.
Sorry again. Yeah, James. Mm-hmm. So one of the, I think it would be really, really useful to have like first-hand experience of what it is, what it takes to do, how it works. And then be able to give advice, especially for people coming to tournaments next year. It's kind of what I imagine, and I think that'll be a really at least for me, it's something I'd like to do so that I could experience and learn it. So that it's something, because I think it's going to be a huge part of the wargaming conversation in the next few years.
100%. Yeah. I definitely think it's because it's getting cheaper and more economical to have one at home. And
it's like an airbrush at this point, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Spot on. But yeah, a little bit more complicated. So me and James have been having chats about it over the past few days. So anyway, I don't want to go on about it so much, but can I just say super thank you to Dude Our Day for donating some money, and also to so that's lovely. If you feel like putting some money in, you can. It's Christmas, super hard time. Don't worry about it if you can't. Super fun. I will do any sort of trick for money. So if you want to leave something in the chat, I will do it. Data list, thanks for subscribing for 11 months. Anyway, target is 3.5 million, so Rob can retire to Tropical Island, bring Warhammer shows to the sunshine. I wouldn't even need 3.5 million.
Can we add another donation for me for a private island? I mean, I'd really love just to be able to do the show from a private island.
Wouldn't you want to just do the show from a Mexican tiki bar? I'd do it that. I'd part-time work at the bar, part-time do Warhammer shows. That would be the dream life.
Yeah. Just move to Skeg Vegas. It's basically the same thing. And it's pretty cheap.
Bomb Squeak says, I have a 3D printer in my office and I start a piece of terrain every day when I come in. Right now I'm printing Zone Mortalis walls. Yeah, I think that's one of the key parts. Also, one of those things that seem like a really smart idea to do in the future is upgrade kits for your Marines.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like
helmet, shoulder pads, guns, even.
Yeah, you need those guns.
That'd be sick.
Guns, I think, is a really important part. So you magnetize stuff, and so one of the things that kind of kicked off the whole conversation was, again, I'm doing my Plague Marines, and me and Nick have been talking. It looks like close combat's going to be really good for Plague Marines, or Death Guard specifically. And so I want to run double Plague Knives. Nick wants to run double Plague Knives. But if you buy a box of 7 Plague Marines, I think the maximum you can build is 2, maybe 3. I think it's only actually 2 double Plague Knife guys. And if you were going to take a squad of 10, it means you would have to buy fuck knows. And obviously then people are like, well, kitbash out of Plague Bearers. And it's like, I mean, you're just robbing Peter to feed Paul at some points.
I mean, mate, at my point, I was doing Grey Knight Paladins, right? And you only get 1 warding stave in each box of 5 Grey Knights. So I've had to pilfer 2. But the strike squads come with 2 in each, so 2 for the 5. So I've been making the decision to give them like halberds and what have you, and stealing their warding staves just to stick them on the Paladins that I've got over here. And so far it's working okay. I'll put 10 on there, and I'm going to have a total of 12 plus 7. So I'll have 19 warding staves. So that means I've only got 12 more, or even 9 more warding staves left that I can use. So I'm going to have to be very careful with where I put those.
Yeah, of course. You have to be super specific with your loadouts, right? And so I think ultimately, like the chat seems to be going mad about it. So we're trying to get a filament printer so that we can do terrain. 4 mates of 3D printers, says K-Dread, so that's a smart move. Bomb Squid works in school, and all the kids are on virtual learning, so he could use the school ones.
Yeah, kids, watch this DVD.
We have that with the laser cutter. That's about it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then Will Dockerell says the Death Watch upgrade kit only has 2 aggressive shoulder pads per pack. It's fucking bullshit. And I think ultimately, everyone is kind of doing it at home, and I know that there are some people out there who 3D print stuff, and there are YouTubers who do it. I think it would be an interesting conversation, at least to the tournament scene. Like, I would like some sort of link or something for myself. Someone's like, hey, I need Plague Knives. I'm like, cool, here's a link. You can download an STL and print it out. And they're like, I don't know how to do that. And it's like, cool, I can print some, or something like that. Like, there should be... It just needs... it needs some more... what's the right word? Eyes on the conversation, and I'd just like to be part of the conversation because I think it's probably the future of the hobby, ultimately. Because one of the things that Nick, you're a huge fan of kitbashing. I know that's true. And Tom, you're conscious that you'll never be able to take your naked custody boys to an event, right?
Well, no, I'll take them to events, just not Games Workshop ones.
Yeah, exactly. You're precisely.
I don't care. It's like fine.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah. Like. Which is kind of a weird conversation because it really only applies to one place anymore, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like
unless specific TOs or places also get funny about it, but I can't see why.
Yeah, I mean, in 2013, I was still like taking like converted spawn to stuff, and the only place I couldn't use them was Warhammer World, so I'm kind of just used to it at this point. It's always been a thing as far as I've been concerned.
Yeah. So we were all conscious that you wouldn't be able to take it to a Warhammer World event. So,
yes,
but I think that they're going to be in the minority, even like post COVID, post events returning. I do feel like officially licensed Warhammer World events will be in the minority, and so it'd be interesting to see what does happen with the 3D print world versus official sanctioned events. Because here, because I was thinking, what would we do at the TSN? Like, I would find the Naked Custodies hilarious to happen at like a 40k Super Series or a 40k event. Yeah,
I think I would perhaps grudge Tom just to try and play against him.
Right, exactly. Anyway, so we've talked about that more than I intended to. But thanks everyone, you're all angels. Right, so hobby. I'm going to ask you guys if you guys have got any hobby questions for the 3 hobby gods you see on the show. Please do.
Hobby gods.
Nick, are you using some of that streaking grime? Have you used it yet?
I've bought some, but it's not arrived yet, so I've never used it. But I've looked at a YouTube tutorial. It seems pretty easy. I'm planning to airbrush it on. I think. Did you paint it on, Rob? And how did you find it?
Oh, the streaking grime. I literally threw it on with a really shit brush There you go for
Okay, so you
everyone at
just
home.
slapped it on.
And I just slapped it on. Yeah. Like I went with it super heavy. I've put a picture up on my Twitter if anyone wants to go find it and link it in the chat. And then I waited a day.
Did it? Can I just ask you a question about after you slapped it on? Did it pool anywhere at all?
No. Well, yes, but like that's the wicked.
But that
thing
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because the whole. So if you guys haven't used it before, you basically slop it on, and then you use white spirit to rub it off areas that you don't want it on. And so unlike wash, where it pools, it doesn't matter if it pools because you can take it out of there, basically.
So at the risk of sounding like a fool, what is streaking grime?
I don't know. So it's an enamel product. Again, if you want to watch something really, really good, what you want to do is you want to go on to the Cult of Paint, and Henry talks about it. One of the really interesting things that I hadn't understood at all, and that he talks about, is the surface tension of a model, which kind of makes sense, right? Like at the end of the day, we all understand it a little bit. There's a surface, and it's got, when you get down to a microscopic level, it's either rough, or it's like, if you think about wood, it's really rough. If you think about glass, it's a lot smoother. But if you like zoom in on glass enough, it's still rough. It's just we can't feel it with our fingers and things. So what Henry talks about in his videos is that you could throw and what are they called? Like varnish sprays on them, so that you could create like a very like glossy sort of surface tension. Or when you paint on with like I don't know, just pick a paint. We all know those sorts of paints that are a little bit rough, sort of thing, if that makes sense. Like you end up with like a thicker surface tension. So it really depends on what you want to achieve with your model. So if you want it to be more pooly and a little bit more like grimy all over, then you make sure the surface tension of, I'm explaining this terribly, and there's a man that you could listen to that video, but like that you make the surface tension like you use a paint to create a rougher surface tension. But if you don't and you want a smoother surface tension, you use something like a varnish, and then you would put grime over the top, and then it would slip into all the corners a little bit more and generally like move around. Side guy, thanks for donating £2.69. Yeah, baby.
Boys.
Yeah, babe. So like it would do. So then it. Does that make sense? Am I explaining it right?
I believe so, yeah. So the rougher the surface is, the less it's going to pool into the recesses.
Yes. No, it'll still pool into the recesses. It'll just pool everywhere else as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's super
And
good.
so what does the surface grime do?
Oh, so what it's just, imagine like an incredibly thick and gloppy Agrax Earthshade top. Yeah. But then, unlike Agrax, because it's water-based, you can't take it off. Once it's dried, it's like stained on. What's cool about this is you use the white spirit and you're able to take bits of it off.
Oh, that's cool.
Right, so then you kind of reverse highlight it, if that makes sense. So if you imagine like a
you
panel,
can clear away spots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you know what? I will tweet a picture right now for everyone of the vehicles that I just did. And so you guys can see what it looked like. But basically, it's really good on vehicles, and it's been really hard to do, not hard to do, but hard to do on smaller models, because it's just harder to take the stuff off once it's done. For the show. There you go. I've tweeted it now, so if you guys are interested, you can go find it.
Sure thing. I'll go there now.
Micro Frostwood Jim has a great related video about streaking with oil paints and cleaning them off. There you go. In the chat.
Oh, I see what you've done. That's cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like it.
Right, so it's super easy to use because I'm obviously shit at doing everything. And if you can see, you know, if you zoom in on the like the bulldozer plate in the front.
You can see where the grime has been cleared away.
You can literally see where I've cleared it away, basically.
And you can leave it on, can't you? To like, if you want that bit to be more dirty and dark, you just leave it there.
Yeah. That's exactly what's on there. So like, and then if you were really good, again, I wasn't trying super hard, but I imagine if you use like a brush and then you kind of like ran it through, you could effectively like draw lines through it, so it looked more like drip and other stuff. There are some great tutorials which are better than what the fuck I can do, but I've loved the experience, is my point. And especially good for me because I dirtied my models up and they still look great. If anything, they look way better than had I done just an Agrax Earthshade. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
And like, it's perfect for like a grimdark, like the grimdark 40k style, which looks great. And it seems quite easy to achieve that finish, which is like, perfect.
Yeah. It's super fun. I can't wait to try it on. I can't wait to try it on non-Death Guard stuff. I think it would be really fun to try it on like some demons or something else. Like maybe it's not the right. I don't know. I'm not the best at it. I'm going to do these guys now, but it does. You know how I've said before I don't really like the cartoon style of 40k or the way.
Yeah.
So it's a nice way of making the whole thing seem a bit more grubby. But I've done really bright colours first. It does make your model super dark. So I've gone for like a bone colour. I've gone for a super bright like neon yellow called Poisonous Cloud, and it like really darkens it down. So that's something to be conscious of, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. That's all. All I've got to say about it, I think.
So I've ordered it, but I've not used it yet. But that's what I'm planning to do for my Death Guard.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see you use it, especially. I think it's also really in. I think it's a fad, not fad, but it's in vogue at the moment.
Yeah. I thought I'd try it out.
It's in trend. It's it's in fashion.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably been something. I mean, I imagine it's something that's been around for like donkey's years, and like someone's just packaged it into something that we've all just collectively like grabbed onto the name, sort of thing.
Yeah,
someone's used it and like,
cool name like Streak and Grime.
Yeah, and intern Matt has come up with a great name. I'm making it Grime Dark.
Oh no!
Nice.
Boom.
Anyway, some follow-up questions for you guys. Have you heard anything about the Blood Angels, and how good they are in 40k at the moment? Kind of a conversation piece.
I heard something about Sanguinary Guard. That's about it.
Yeah, that's specifically what I'm talking about, Tom.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that Sanguinary Guard were already pretty decent because my friend Andy plays Blood Angels, and my friend Stu also played Blood Angels, and they always had like big blocks of Sanguinary Guard supported by a couple of characters like the Ancient, Sanguinor, the Sanguinary Priest, and they always hit like a train. So Marines have had nothing but buffs really, and I don't think they went up in points, so I can only imagine they're still amazing, particularly with like power swords going up, and then it looks like they've gone flat 2 damage rather than D3.
Flat 2, yeah, but that plus 1 to wounds, the kind of key feature. Can I say massive thank you to Dudar Day for donating another £6.69 to the show, to the fund. Nice. That's super lovely of you. Fucking babe. Specifically the Sanguinary Guard are like, I don't want to say broken, but like borderline terrifying. And me and Tom kind of like chatted about it a little quickly in the WhatsApp earlier, didn't we, Tom? But they are just outrageous.
They're just very good at everything you need, right? They're very, very durable, hard to shift up things. They provide great close quarters board control, which is very valuable for pushing things off objectives and then sitting there yourself. And denying that kind of stuff, and you can hide them in ruins and not really lose any of your output, and still project that threat, especially for like lots of ruins to hide in. And then they also play very, very well into a lot of secondaries. It's very difficult to get things like grounded down into list with lots of Sanguinary Guard that need to run at you. But equally, they're one of those that can go out and get you things like engaging offense and even things like scramblers if you need to.
Yes, yeah, the output is terrifying. The survivability is nuts. But I think ultimately, like the comparison that I saw earlier today was that you can get like I think it's 3 or 4, might be 4 Sanguinary Guard for the price of a single Smash Captain. And why wouldn't you? Yeah, and why wouldn't you? Right, you end up with like a shit ton more attacks. You take more wounds. It's just better, and also you can obviously heal them in with apothecaries and other stuff. And I think having watched and played a couple of games of 40k 9th, or as many as I can, obviously those jump pack units. I mean, when we did the Marine rundown when we've been doing the Marine rundowns over the past few weeks, we've constantly talked about those jump pack Vanguard vet units. And I think that's been specifically because we know you're going to hide in one piece of terrain, and then you're going to run into another piece of terrain and like duff people up, and like that 12-inch move on how small the board is now is just hilariously good. So that's the only real conversation I've seen about the Blood Angels. Just big strong Blood Angels is what I've seen. Have you got any? And Doolally points out that 4 Sanguine Guard have 8 nipples. The Smash Captain only has 2. We have a clear winner.
They have more nipples. That's very important.
Yeah. War Priest Kajal. It's really nice to see him in the chat. A woo for you.
Yeah.
Nipples are just distraction tactics. It's not hard to swipe at them.
That's why I've got this camera angle going on.
Yeah, strong.
Yeah. So
you can get Sanguine Guard up to move 14 as well. You can have them wounding on 2s, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, AP 2. They're pretty strong. Ultimately. And I guess, I think the key point is how hyper efficient they are points wise, which kind of leads me into the conversation of we haven't seen a lot of codexes out yet. We've just seen 2 and some supplements. However, it does feel like that there's already a very much haves and have-not situation when it comes to points in 40k. And I wonder what you two thought about that.
Can you be a bit more specific?
Who are the haves?
Well, okay, so
Marines.
Not just Marines though, because obviously, like some of them, I want to say some of them are overcosted, but some of them are hyper aggressively pointed in a really good way. Like if you're like, I want to take Blake Vest, it's like, yeah, off you go, you're having a great time. Yeah, basically anything from the new box. Excellently pointed. And it just
suspiciously pointed.
Yeah. And I guess really what I'm trying to say is the game, the 9th has been out for a while, and even though there's only been a couple of codexes, you would feel like this 6-month period, I know no real data because of COVID, but this 6-month period would be long enough for them to have a conversation about should we look at some of these points in a winter FAQ / sort of chapter approved style thing. I'm not asking for another chapter approved like 2.5 days after the last chapter approved and 2.5 days for the next one. I'm not saying that. I'm just more asking.
Do we think they're going to update any of the points?
Yeah, that's and do you think it's necessary? Is really what I'm saying. Like, is it fine how aggressive plasma inceptors are? Is it okay?
I think it's okay. I feel like it's okay now just because there aren't any major tournaments going, so it's not really personally affecting me or affecting that many people. I feel like Games Workshop will use the excuse that there aren't many tournaments out going on, so they can't make a full assessment of the points and adjust them. So I feel like they're not going to change anything for a while, but I hope they do because, it seems... I mean, I've not played much, so I've never experienced it firsthand, but a lot of the talk is about, and most of the lists that we've written have had plasma inceptors in or stuff like that. And people are going nuts about eradicators, and when tournaments were happening, they were pretty efficient. So I would like to see stuff like that go up a little bit in points. Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know. Like, again, not tons and tons of data, I guess, really to think it through. Tom, you got any thoughts on this? Like, actually, go on, Tom.
Not massively right now. I mean, as we know, like, especially when I was making a similar point last year with Marines, I like to see the game try and solve itself first. And I feel like it'd be very hypocritical of me to then say, well, we need points changes when we just haven't had any opportunity for the game to do anything, right? All we've had are some events in America because I don't know why. But and
some Australian ones now, though. Right? Some Australian ones now.
That's true. We're getting some of those popping up, but we haven't really had a chance to digest anything or like see how the game works, because it could be that you knee-jerk points change here, and then in 10 months' time, when all the books are released, those points changes are now just utter garbo, which is entirely possible because you could be like, if you touch Necrons right now, I think Necrons will be mid to lower mid tier by the time all the books are out. Personally. I don't think they'll stick once all the books have dropped. I think they're very much about one thing, and when everything can push the center in a similar way, then you're going to have a lot of problems with that book, right? A lot of their power is currently predicated just on that secondary that they have. And when everyone has one. No, Necrons. What's it called?
Necrons.
Cold or Meek or Raised or whatever it is, right? I still
I would also argue that I would also argue the Marines are super strong because of that secondary as well, right? They almost automatically get 15 secondary points for turn up.
Yes, exactly.
Which is weird.
Yeah, and then when every book has that, right? Because if we make points changes, we're effectively making points changes to a game that hasn't been released yet. We have the core rules, we have 2 books, we have some supplements. Most of the factions don't have their books, And it's not like the books from last edition can just be copied across. I mean, you can still use them, that's fine, but they're not this edition's books.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just say, oh, well, why don't you just wait until all the books have been released before you make any changes? I'm not saying that. I'm saying we have barely any representation of what the game's going to look like. If we have like 2 codices and supplements for those codices out, what do we have, like 20% of the game out right now?
Yeah, not much.
Yeah, we can't make a judgment based on something we haven't seen and haven't tested.
It's true. My only pushback, my singular.
No, go for it. Absolutely, go wild.
Is obviously, is obviously how simple those secondaries are for the people who already have them.
Yeah.
And I know there's already a big conversation about basically just banning book secondaries.
Yeah.
Which I think is a fair conversation. I think that's completely fine. It kind of makes sense at this point.
Yeah, particularly until a lot of people get their own secondaries. Yeah.
Yeah. Until everyone else gets their own secondaries, I think that would be super fair. I think you could also lie to Games Workshop as well, which would be super good. Like, if all the TOs are like, "Hey, we're just gonna ban all book secondaries until everyone has them," and then they'll be like, "No, don't do it." And they'll be like, "We're gonna have to, otherwise it's not fair." And they'll be like, "Okay, fair enough," and then just never change the rule.
No. That's not the play, Rob. Are you ready for the play? Let's take an example. 8th edition. We're going to ban all stratagems until every book has them, okay?
Yeah, okay.
And then you release books without stratagems in. And then when everyone's got a book without stratagems in, you then start releasing books with stratagems in at the same pace.
You're a genius.
So you sell them twice. Boom. Got them.
Games Workshop intern, are you in the chat? Pass that on.
Yeah. Yeah, intern, pass that on, please. That would be really helpful.
Anyone like some narcissistic money making? I'm here.
Right, if anyone has any questions, but if hobby related or 40k related in the chat, we would love to take them today.
Bombsquig had one earlier in the chat.
What was it?
Magnets, yay or nay? I'm more nay. Personally, I find it such a pain in the ass, but I'd rather build and paint more models. So
Aren't
do you guys
always magnetizing stuff though?
I'm magnetized. No, sorry, I was just reading Bombsquig's question out. So that was his full question. I like magnets. I don't magnetize a lot of models. The only real models that I've magnetized are my knights, because obviously they're an expensive model. If you're going to build it as a certain type, it's probably a good idea, as long as the chassis are all the same, to have multiple different options, like to have your battle cannon, thermal cannon, Gatling cannon all magnetized, so you can swap and change depending on whatever, or the power fist option. But like other models like Marines, I very rarely would magnetize their arms. But one thing I do like to magnetize, which I think is a really good idea, is the bases, because I have like particularly infantry, so I've magnetized my bases, and then they're magnetized into a movement tray, and then the movement tray is magnetized into my really useful box, like a nice flat one. So it's quite an efficient little storage space and transport for when I'm taking it out. So that's mainly what I'd use magnets for.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I can't magnetize stuff. I've tried. Number one, I must have in my life bought maybe 4 or 5 drills. I don't really understand it. Everyone's like, just drill a bit and then stick in. I'm like,
wait, how are you meant to drill? Well, whatever.
Yeah, I know, Tom. What I end up doing is I just fucking get the drill bit stuck in the model, or like fucking God knows. Never really understood how it works.
How big are the magnets?
Huh?
Are you taking big magnets or
I
little
bought loads of little ones, loads of big ones. I've got a box of magnets. I'll show you somewhere. Keep it near my bank cards and TV. And
and my floppy disks, in the VHS collection,
and all the cameras.
Anyway, I can't make it fucking work. Basically, is what I'm trying to say to you. I'm
kind of similar. Like, I really like the idea of magnets. It's just the execution that I can't manage.
It's just same. Yeah. I think I'd like to in some cases, but the execution is quite hard.
Like, everyone just goes, "Oh, magnets are really simple, like, are really good," but really, they're not. Like, to most people, like me and Rob, we just can't do it, or just don't get it, or don't understand. Like, there's no simple guide to how to do it.
I mean, there are.
Not simple enough. Not simple enough, mate. Like,
yeah. See, look at this. I need a pin vise. Now I need to go buy a fucking pin vise, whatever that is. And which is the right pin vise? This is what I'm saying, Nick. I want the... This is how you magnetize...
pin vise advice?
No. What I want is a fucking
like
bundle.
Chad Vice?
Yeah, I want a fucking bundle. Yeah, and then I want a video tutorial with the bundle. I want, like, pin vise, the right magnets are, because it's also, everyone's always like, oh yeah, have you got the 25 mils magnets? And I'm like, well, fucking, what are you talking about? 40 mils, hindered hydroxide ones? I know I'm sounding like a moron, but whatever.
Yeah,
We are morons, Rob, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
The
The best I've ever been able to do is do what you said, Nick. I've stuck magnets on a base, and then I've stuck them to a sheet. It's the best I've ever done. Yeah? Try to magnetize models, it just breaks my heart. So I haven't, is the answer.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of magnetizing little models. Like I said, big ones, I think that's fine. Little ones, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, dude,
There are more models.
Yeah, more models. Yeah, if you worked out an hourly rate for your hobby time to put in magnets, it must be cheaper to buy more models. I guess, unless you can't afford new models, like, it's the real point.
Yeah.
Tom, you got a question. This is for you.
Oh, no.
I think. Question: a debate in the Craft World Eldar Facebook community page about Army feel like an army has kind of lost its identity, which would be completely overpowered crap that you had to play for 2 years of an edition. I think that was its identity. Nick, could you confirm?
Yeah, like
completely overpowered bullshit that really made your opponent face palm every time you revealed a new stratagem that you could do. Yes, that was Eldar's playstyle.
So my first question there would be, because I need to understand a bit more in order to like comment. Did they ever come to a conclusion as to what the identity of Eldar was? Because
hold on. I think the question is, hold on. I didn't finish answering the question, so that's my fault. The question, I think, the debate is, what do you think makes the army special, but better? Like if you were to deal with the craft world, but Tom, what would you like? For instance, obviously we're all focusing a lot on the Death Guard. Me and Nick are painting it. There's loads of community previews coming out. There's lots of conversation about it. So resilience is what you think of when you think Death Guard. Magic is what you think of when you think Thousand Suns. And dusty.
Okay, I get you.
So so Eldar,
specialization.
Yeah. What would you?
Specialization. And are Eldar suddenly not full of specialized units? No, I mean, I really don't like the idea of mixing up how competitive an army is with its with its identity. Right? Your identity as a faction in the lore does not determine how strong you are going to be. At all. It's not like I can read art. I go off and read Art of War, and I come to read all the codexes and decide which one I think is going to be best based off the lore. We've had this disconnect multiple times. A good example is Necrons, right? Yep. Where Nikos would read out the lore and say this thing can blow up 4 armored columns, and then it's just shit, right? So the question isn't how strong are these rules? It's how well do they represent what this unit does in the lore, right? And just because I can't kill the entire enemy army in one fucking go, does not mean that it's suddenly now not lost its flavor, right? Mm-hmm. For example, you let's say you read a Horus Heresy book or something, or you read just generally anything, and the army that you're following just kills everybody and loses 2 dudes. Yeah. Now in that case, it's probably Space Marines, in which case it is actually represented on the tabletop. But the fact is that all these perspectives in the lore are told from the perspective of that faction, right? Or told from the perspective of the Imperium, right? Yep. So it's not necessarily a case that it's going to perform as it does in various stories of the lore. So the question is, do Eldar units still display specialization, regardless of how effective that specialization is? Right. And the answer is probably yes, right? Swooping Hawks are a great example. Another great example, Striking Scorpions. What's their whole stick? Being sneaky in that. Sneaky stealth unit, melee, kind of thing. Now, maybe you could argue that the chainswords probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah, well, they're silent.
They're not very sneaky. Yeah, a silencer on a chainsaw.
No, they don't turn them on until they're actually there.
Isn't WD-40 the silencer of a chainsword?
I guess, until you hit something. Oh, there's some visceral in my chainsword. Well, that's disappointing. Never mind. But the fact is that that identity is then displayed in the rules, right? So you can play as that kind of specialized unit, even if you're not very strong doing it.
Okay. So you think where tenacity and survivability are the hallmarks of the Death Guard, do you think specialization is the key fundamental element of what an Eldar army should at least creatively play like on the tabletop?
Yes, agreed.
Okay, interesting. That's quite That's quite a lot. I
feel
guess
like, I feel like they're quite glass. They're like predominantly, I would see them as like glass cannons, apart from the wraith constructs and stuff like that. I'd say a lot of the infantry they should hit pretty hard, but they're not really able to take much damage back. That's kind of how I see them as well.
Yeah, I think I see that as well. Like, and also,
have you guys read the Eldar trilogy, by the way, the Gav Thorpe one?
No.
Okay, that goes a lot into the. Well, it's okay. It's quite good. It's very good for understanding what Eldar are like, right? Because you could take glass cannon and apply it to lots of different things, right? Because you can still be a glass cannon, but you can also still have these other like secondary traits. For example, Dark Eldar are very much a glass cannon, right? But that's not their only identity.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's good. That's a good point. Like, I loved reading the lore about the Drukhari, and I fucking love the lore about the Harlequins. Like, deep love.
Yeah, another glass cannon, right?
Yeah, my favorite lore. Well, yeah, but like I read about there's a story, I can't remember where it's from, where a bunch of Harlequins, they sneak through Realm Gate and or whatever it's called, but they basically end up inside the throne room on Terra, and they're fighting the Custodies, and like a whole bunch of them die, but one of them gets close enough to like speak to the Emperor or something, and it's amazing. Like, it's so cool. But they do. Does
he speak to the Emperor then?
Maybe it's a she. She gets there or something. But like, anyway, it's super cool. I think it's from the Beast Rises, so I didn't mention it. And then
that bloody book again.
So, but anyway, well, that 10 books. But what was super cool was just like the way that they like danced around, and they had that kind of like, you know, if the Custodies hit them, they were gone. You know, they're not surviving that blow. But that's hard to write into rules, right? Evasion is hard to write into rules without it being like utterly broken, I guess. I don't know. Like, that's what I'd like to see from Eldar in some ways. Like, evasiveness, but fragility. But how the fuck do you put that into rules, I think, is the real question. I think that would be really, really hard to put in.
Yeah.
Tom does kind of make a point for the whiners there though. Primaris specializes too now.
I did respond to that in the chat. I said that not to the same degree. You can have specialized units, but the Greffel book is entirely about specialization. That includes the troops. So that includes things like Guardians, which are just like the peasants, which aren't necessarily even specialized, but they still experience like heightened emotion on the other side, right? Dire Avengers, even over a troops unit, are very much specialized.
Wouldn't you say, because it reminds me a lot of the Skaven book, right? Like for Age of Sigmar as well. Well, like, no, hold on. Like, and comparing elves and rats.
No, I just can't empathise with that. That's all.
Oh, okay. No, I'll try and draw some parallels. So effectively, what they have is, while the Skaven book is a book in of itself, yeah, inside it there are sub factions, and not sub factions like with orcs, where like goths are just a bit better at duffing up, and do you know what I mean? Like the changes inside the orc book aren't very pronounced, or inside the Skaven book they're very, very pronounced changes. Like, these are plaguey dudes. Yeah, it's all about that. And then these guys are like scryers, and they do all this like shooting and stuff. I'm trying to think of a book in the 40k world that's as disenfranchised from each other, and I actually don't think that there is one. But by disenfranchised, they're effectively specializations, is what I'm trying to talk about, Tom, is where I'm at.
Okay, that's fair.
And the army does work cohesively as a piece, but I would argue that like specialization is kind of a good thing for any army to have access to. Like the orc stuff, sure. Like the orc stuff as an example, because that's something we can all definitely talk about. It's a little unfortunate that really you just pick the most applicable buff for the unit that's probably quite good. Whereas like one of the things I've talked about that I would quite like to see is like Space Marines is a good example with the supplements. Like, obviously you just go, cool, what buffs the thing that's already good inside this? Like, either Sanguinary Guard are good, which they're great, or the damage buffs that you get for Blood Angels can be applied to Blade Guard veterans and Outriders and other stuff as well. Yeah? So really you're just finding the buffs that add on. Whereas if, like, let's say Blood Angels, they got a special stratagem or something that worked really well for a particular melee unit out of the Primaris. But whereas you go to Space Wolves, they got another melee unit, and they got they got a stratagem that worked for that. So it felt more specialized.
Yeah, I get that. I think the point I'm trying to make is there's a difference between having access to specialized units like eradicators or aggressors or inceptors, and your entire army being based around specializations of units, where every single unit can only do one thing, but they can do that one thing really, really well, right? Now, if you want to argue that Eldar don't currently have that, that's fine. But why weren't you complaining about that when the book released? Because at the end of the day, oh no, I'm not. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that if this is the perspective where Eldar have now lost their identity, the only thing they've lost is like their place at the top of the pile. Everything else is still the same.
Yeah,
but I think that's the identity. That's the identity, but perhaps some people have with Eldar because they picked up Eldar because they were the top of the pile, and they go, "That's the identity of Eldar, and I want it back."
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
They're bandwagoners. They're not Eldar players.
Yeah. Get out my craft world.
Yeah, get out. Fuck off. Yeah. I'll show you how it's done. That's the point. I've played Harlequins twice in this TTS league with Eldar, beaten it both times. Craft World's 2, Harlequins 0. Fuck off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been fine, mate. Easy.
Listen,
easy
my boy Kegarach. The only reason I'm not like painting up my Harlequins now is because genuinely they terrify me. Like it's just too much. But narrative wise, like I'm forever a Harlequin player. I want everyone to know that. Like they're my boys for life because they've just got. I think they've got the coolest story. Like imagine everyone else is like, yeah, I'm trying to battle a god. I've been corrupted by a god, and then some other guy's like, I tricked a god and I laughed my ass off about it, and off I went. It's the coolest story. The Harlequins have got the coolest story, in my opinion.
Yeah, Necrons we got tricked by a god, and then we fucked over the god, and now they're our slaves.
Now we did that. Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad as a story. Hey, Neil. Hope you're well. Is there any armies that actively encourage promote narrative builds by having buffs tied to being a real mixed bag, says Dave Fraser?
Cheese to the cost.
Oh, yeah, good point, actually, Tom.
Boom.
Yeah. Do you want to expand that out for us a little bit? Oh, go on.
They've got no other real way to play because all their core mechanics are based around being sneaky bastards or hiding in the sewer.
And having loads of overlapping sneaky bastards.
Yeah, all the sneaky bastards. That is all.
And they've got a lot of characters that you kind of want a lot of buffs from, so you need a lot of variety for those. It's not like spamming captains that just give you the buff.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like at least with the codexes we've seen, like 9th edition at least has got some like viability and like in creativity, like that they seem to understand their armies a little bit better. If the Marine books haven't lost their identity a little bit, but honestly, I feel like I don't know about you guys, but I feel like if you wrote a book, so like you've got Marines, cool, but if you wrote a Blood Angel supplement and the Sanguinary Guard weren't great, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah? And then if you like the fact that Wolfen aren't good in the Space Wolf book, or they're not brilliant, let's just put it that way, I think is a crime. Like, why are they like Thunderwolf Cavalry should be great, Wolfen should be great. Really, they should just be like really emphasizing in on the units from the supplement. Like, do you know what I mean?
And that's just I've not really looked at the Blood Angels and the Space Wolf supplements yet, but that's exactly what I would expect going into them, because you've got the generic Space Marine chapters like Iron Hands and Ultramarines and Imperial Fist, etc., to use the generic Space Marine units, and that's where you want the specialized Space Marine chapters like Blood Angels to use those specialist units, like Death Company, stuff like that.
Yeah. I honestly think that should be the way. This is the way, because like why?
But they can only really do that through stratagems, can't they? And like warlord traits, or I suppose the unit data slate.
The unit data sheet. I mean, you could aggressively point them as well, like inside that book, I guess. I really do feel like the Core Marine book is really the build your own chapter book, or it should be at least to a degree, with the supplements buffing. I mean, that's just a me want. But I do feel like you'd end up with... I mean, I guess if you really, really wanted to play like Space Wolves, but like, all the Primaris stuff from the core book, I guess, like, you could just, I guess, build something Space Wolf-esque in kind of rules. Does that make sense? I don't know. No, that doesn't work. I don't know. I think it's a challenging one. It's arguably just too big, all of those things, ultimately. Like, they've just got too much stuff attached to too many models, but I mean, it's got nothing to do with game design, though, has it? Because they just want to, like, punk out as many pound coins as they can selling like fucking intercessors and Blade Guard vets
Yeah.
if they can. So that's really what it is. All right, yeah, it's a good question. Thanks. That took us down a long road. I wasn't expecting that at all, which I enjoyed. What else has come up recently? Well, I mean, other news. Sometimes we would cover this as well, but the big news is that there isn't 2 FAQs out today, and they are
yes.
at least one of them is prodigious.
Yes.
In the Death Watch.
As if the Death Watch Codex wasn't already confusing enough, they've also got an incredibly long FAQ now to add to the confusion.
Super long FAQ.
I feel like to play Death Watch now, you have to go to university and get a Death Watch degree.
I don't think I'd let
present a thesis on your list.
Yeah.
And then it gets approved, and then you can therefore play Death Watch.
Oh, what about peer review? Can I get my list peer reviewed, but only by other Death Watch degree people?
Yes.
Yes, for $90 a month. That is the requirement.
Honestly, like, it's just a bit fucking much. I looked at it earlier, I was like, can't be asked. The only thing I did do was I went in and looked to see if they changed the relic that gives just a 5-up invulnerable save as an all.
And have they?
So I was like,
they haven't. I checked it.
No, they haven't. I was like, obviously change that. That's stupid. Change that.
Someone in another chat asked to see if it clarified that you couldn't take 2 secondaries, one from one book and one from another, and they had not. So carry on.
So you got all of the strong things basically from that book, like loads of advantages. Has anyone decoded the removal of the mix unit in Deathwatch page 50? I don't have the book to check what's been removed from. Yes, me balls, I haven't, bud. Like I would, but fuck no, I'm just not doing it. It's just I just subbed to the Deathwatch OnlyFans. Really, it's just a BDSM channel of people trying to learn the rules. You get slapped every time you get
every time you get a rule wrong. Flog me, daddy.
Well, they haven't changed the 5-up invulnerable save auto take relic, so like the army, I don't think compositionally is it changed in any way. It just means how you build some of the kill team squads has changed a little bit, but like truly, who gives a fuck? Like about 8 people are going to play Deathwatch, and everyone who has to play them will hate the experience. But like, it does seem like an army that you could invest in now, and just be like, in 6 months' time, be like a master of this confusing fucking thing. No one will know what the fuck you're doing at any point. But they'll know you have a 5-up invulnerable save. That's important.
Yeah, they'll know that.
They'll know that. That seems like a challenging one. Has anyone else in the chat got any thoughts on the Deathwatch FAQ and how they feel about it? It's a weird time to drop it, right? Just before Christmas, I guess. I guess people are collecting things.
I feel like it's just correcting keywords and stuff rather than it being like a groundbreaking thing of changing what's good, right? That's all it seems to have been. Just making it legal.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It's nice though they are still plodding along with it though and getting them out there in the world. I think that's a key thing to see. I just think Tom's hands are pretty neat.
Same. I need to get my nails sorted again though. It's been too long. I know I used to go for manicures and now I can't because of lockdown. Sad.
So no more going through walls is also one of the things that's occurred as well, which is good. So you can't have bikers now going through walls, which was a dumb thing anyway. So that's a positive. That is a positive. Completely. I've been. I don't want to keep talking about terrain because someone's brought up terrain again, but it's all that's on my mind at the minute. A lot.
Terrain's the most important thing, though. Let's be honest. Terrain's the most important thing, though. Let's be honest. It is the game right now.
Super important. Super important. Like really, really, really cool.
Is it the third player?
It is. Yeah.
It's the third player, but I don't want to bang on it about it again because it's my normal topic of conversation. I'm like, would anyone like an 18-hour treatise on terrain? Because
would anyone like 96 pieces of terrain?
No, not just that. Yeah. Not just that. Like how impactful the keywords are. Like, I keep thinking so much about the difference between breachable, and then oh god.
Has it been 6 months since Snipe? I don't believe you, Neil.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't. Nah. It wasn't released in June, was it? It was released in July, 25th of July.
July, August,
25th of July.
September, October, November, December,
That's
January
5
is when we should get it.
Yeah, 25th of January. Yeah.
Terrain, you say? Do go on. I've got so much I could say about terrain. I think one of the important things about
over Christmas, would you like to go around door to door talking to people? Have you heard the word about terrain in 40k?
I would.
Have you got 12 ruins?
Let me give you this pamphlet, and you can learn the ways of obscuring terrain.
It's just anyway. Doesn't matter. I'll talk about it all day. Not just obscuring. Breachable's the one actually that I really like the keyword for. I think that's the sleeper keyword ultimately, because like if you have like impassable terrain effectively, so that you can't have infantry go through it, like we just talked about with the Deathwatch keyword change, like that actually massively affects the game as much as having breachable does. But breachable's awesome because it gives more validity to infantry units on the board. And I think that that's like such a small change. And I mean, do I love it? No, it seems weird. Like the other day when watching that match, you know, when you had like the infantry units going through the wall and the dreadnought had to walk around. It was weird. It's like, how did they get through the wall? Like magic?
Yeah, you think a big dreadnought should be able to smash through a wall pretty easily, particularly with a power fist.
Yeah.
But there's
like,
there's got to be some obstacles in the game that make it a game rather than just everyone's floating wherever the fuck they want.
Yeah,
I love how they introduced the. Oh, sorry, you go, Rob.
No, go on after you.
I was going to say I love how they introduced the concept of breachable terrain and people not being able to walk through it. Because when me and Rob played a game of Night for the first time, we played it, but you couldn't walk through the terrain, right? Because we assumed that was going to be the standard. And all we've done is just take the existing terrain rules that have just, we've reworked terrain. And then we've applied the keywords to it that effectively make it as it was in 8th edition. We changed nothing apart from you can't stand on the bottom lip, and that's about it.
However, some of them are so important, like forests, and it being like -2 to your
that
charge.
Was always a thing, though. That was always.
I know it was always a thing. It's just so fucking fun. Like it's so good. There's so much implementation on the tabletop, especially if you get command of it. Especially if you're like using like if you're using like static terrain maps, like using the WTC terrain maps. So that you always understand what the board state is like. And again, Ishik's a fucking legend for doing the work. Very much ties into the conversation I was having earlier, Tom. Like, someone just has to do the thing once, and then that becomes the thing.
Yeah. You need one person to invent the telephone, and now everyone has a telephone.
Yeah, that's it, right? I'm just into it in a big way. Is really where I'm at, and it's also fascinating actually. Talking about 3D printing. Talking about building terrain, talking about terrain sets, talking about Ishik's terrain pack that you can get from his store, that it's actually really hard to buy and build the right amount of terrain that you need. Unless you just do buy Ishik's terrain pack. Like, it's like, cool, that's what
I bought the Knife Standard one, and then as soon as it arrives, he releases the WTC pack, and then puts fucking Chris Haynes Canhammer branding all over it, and I'm like, oh, I could have had this.
Someone asked what is so Caterers asked what are terrain rules. Anyone want to field that question?
So they're like keywords that you can apply to terrain, and each keyword has an associated rule. So obscuring is a keyword. If it's a terrain piece over 5 inches, you can't draw a shooting line of sight through it. Breachable is one we've mentioned, so that means infantry can go through the terrain piece, but other keywords can't, like bikers. And there's other keywords that are less important that I can't remember now because it's been so long since I played 40k. What other ones are there? Yeah, the -2 to charge one. One is like defensible, so it gives you like a bonus if you're being charged and things like that. So it's just an additional layer of rules that you can apply to terrain. So rather than there being, this piece of terrain has these rules, you can just have whatever terrain you want and apply whatever keywords you want in your game to those terrain pieces to make it either a more fun or more balanced game experience.
For me, what I'm excited about doing is just knowing what the board states are going to be, and then playing around that. If that makes sense, I think that's really, really important. Same way as like I found this very difficult with 8th edition, was to build an army with what was effectively fucking, it didn't matter board state. I mean, obviously nowhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like for missions, like it was just like whatever. Like who gives a shit? Like there's some objectives, but they're just bonus points. For me, like I need the counterplay of, I know where the objectives are going to be in a mission, so I can build a list, so I can move on to those objectives, move off those objectives, do something like that. So I know that I'm trading off. I'm going to pre-game move these units. I'm going to put these units there. Like the objectives being somewhere is really important. And then now knowing where the terrain will be placed in that situation would also be very important as well. Because it's fucked me up with Age of Sigmar tournaments and just games. There's ended up being a piece of terrain in my deployment which I didn't want to be there, and it fucked up basically how I imagined deploying it in my head. And Age of Sigmar's got loads of problems with terrain, which it just doesn't know it has. Right? People are just playing on people are playing Age of Sigmar games like 3 bits of forest and like half a house somewhere, and they're like, done it.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's just loads you can unlock about that and talk about forever, basically. My rules for training as a night player are that I can smash any terrain to the ground, kill any sneaky bastard behind it. It says big goldfish. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
Fish smash.
That sounds like something for League of Knights. That does.
It does.
Smash the terrain all day long. Yeah. Tom, how did you end up doing so well against these Eldar army? These Harlequin armies you were talking about.
Well, first one, I went first and shot off a squad of bikes immediately, and the Starweaver, which was hilarious banter. The second one, it was one of those where I just kind of like stood off each other for quite a while, and then I managed to, I shoved a Falcon forward, and I was like, well, I killed a unit, and I was like, right. Okay, so either you can put your Yunkan down here, I'll tell you how I phrased it specifically because it is important. I pushed my Falcon up, and it was within 7 inches of this objective, right? And if I'd sat on the objective and held it or contested it, it was one of the missions where it was two objectives get you 5 points, 3 objectives get you 10 points, right? So I shot it, and then I said, I'm considering fire and fading, but I want to see if you drop your Yunkan down first. Right? Mm-hmm. And so what I'm trying to do there is, if he puts his Yunkan down, I can shoot it with my 2 remaining Night Spinners. But if he doesn't, I'm going to fire and fade my Falcon, contest the objective, and then he loses the 5 points. Mm-hmm. And the correct play there is, obviously, do not Yunkan there, because you're going to lose it. But he did. He got his 5 points, but I was able to one-shot the Yunkan with my 2 Night Spinners.
Okay.
So that meant I was able to then push forward, try and kill everything. I quickened a squad of Shining Spears over the back and shot up a troop unit, and then double charged his bikes. Right. The issue I had was it was only a 13-7 win in WTC scoring. The issue I had was I jumped my Shining Spears over with guide. That's 36 shots, strength 4, AP -1, damage 1, into this squad of 9 players, and I killed 2 players. And I was like, So I started having to pump like the odd Night Spinner or the odd Falcon into them, and I only killed 2 more. So it was a squad of 5 players, right? So I'm like, oh fuck it, I can't really charge him. I've only got 19 attacks, got a 4+ invulnerable save, it'd be really bad. So I charge everything into the bikes, kill most of the bikes, that's fine. He then turns around with his troop master and his squad of 5 players. And I'm like, oh, how bad can it be? And his 5 players, worth 95 points, charge my Shining Spears and one-shot the squad. And I'm like,
Really?
Well, the strength 5 AP -2 damage 1, but if you can use a stratagem to give him +1 damage, and you reroll all hits in melee with the troop master, so they're now damage 2, and I'm sat here with my 2 wounds and my lack of invulnerable, so I'm just going, fucking rip. And then I lost like 3 more Shining Spears to morale in the other squad. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of annoying, but whatever, it was fine. So I was able to pressure him, but it wasn't a big win just because of that. But I could snap up the Yunkan and then just go wild and like sit on a lot of objectives. I also managed to, just by lobbing like Night Spinners into his throat, he got 2 Scramblers, but he didn't get the 3rd one because I was just killing everything that came anywhere near me.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, well, so you've just been denied 10 points there. You only got 6 points on bringing them down because I've been hiding Night Spinners most of the game. You didn't really get too much engaged on all fronts, and your primary was pretty stunted. So I was able to take that one. It was all right.
I love deploy scramblers because like it can change the game into such an important conversation between two shit units. It's just like a really shit unit. It's like so they're like, I'm not doing nothing, boss. You're like, mate. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. All the might of the Imperium is about to land on your head.
Mate, it's I mean, I've been running water spiders specifically just to get me those points. Works well. It's fine.
Yeah.
So 2 squads of water.
Well, I like striking scorpions for scramblers for Eldar because I think they can deep strike and they're cheaper than scorpions.
They can deep strike, but the spiders don't have to deep strike because they've got a 46-inch movement, which makes it very easy to get into the center of the board, right? Because a lot of the time you've got quite a narrow gap on either side. Plus with the spiders, like you can just keep them back. So you start with 2 squads in your deployment zone. If your opponent decides to commit for them, that's great. You just get to hit them on the counter attack, which is what you want to do anyway. And they've killed like 2 squads of spiders. Fantastic, good job. You end up.
But then you can't do scramblers.
Yeah, but if I've killed my entire opponent's army, then I don't mind. Like I'll lose 10 points, but I'll win the game. So it's not a massive deal. Whereas if I'm taking 2 squads of spiders, I spend 1 turn doing scramblers in my deployment zone. The next turn I move 4d6 plus 7 inches up, and I guaranteed get the second one. And then because I've got Weather to See, I could just pick a unit up and then just drop it wherever I want.
I think you need. Nice. I don't think you can do scramblers with the same unit, so you need to make sure you got 3 units.
I don't think you're correct there. I'll double check it though, because I've seen a lot of people use scramblers, and that has never come up. But I'll check it now. 1 second.
Well, while you're doing that, Tom, I'm going to talk to the chat. And see how they're all doing. Sergeant Rolf's asked a question which I'm already okaying, absolutely, which was, can I share my naked Eldar on Discord?
Hell yeah.
Answer is yes. And would I be allowed to play them against Tom's naked custodians in T-Sports?
Hell yeah.
That sounds like
the answer is please.
The answer is let's stream that game. That sounds the best. There's no restrictions on doing scramblers with the same unit. It says yes.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I just double checked it. The only restriction is that you can only scramble with 1 unit per turn.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, Nick. So, you've just upskilled.
Nice.
You just saved yourself a squad of striking scorpions, I think.
Ooh.
I always do scramblers with some Gretchen who are just like living their best lives in the midfield.
You don't want to shoot the Gretchen now, do you?
Yeah, everyone's like, what are those Gretchen doing? It's like nothing. Oh, thank you to Disco Dolly for resubscribing for 3 months in the chat. Big love.
Cheers, Dolly.
Big love. All right, so listen, another topic if you guys are interested, because this one's a pretty hot one. Now I don't want to bring it up because obviously the App Awards are finished now. They're done. However, Games Workshop for this year, next year to go, and Games Workshop with their eye on the prize for next year, they have offered a prize with their new 40k app, so it is relevant. And if you download their 40k app and you subscribe for free, and then you write a list and then you share it, you can win that army. However, there are some restrictions. Well, first off, how do you guys feel about how do you feel about that, Nick? Got any thoughts?
Well, you have to tweet it with the hashtag, don't you? So it's just like a bit of a marketing ploy, isn't it? To try and get it trending, to try and get more people aware of it, to spread the word so they can get more people to sign up and test it, which is fair enough. But I just think from what I've seen, my initial experience of the app and the fact that you've got to buy the Codex, it's really buggy, and how you write the list so far from what I've seen just doesn't. It's for the price you're paying, it's not enough to make me switch away from Battlescribe, which cost me what, £5 a year.
Yeah.
Why would I pay
Battlescribe?
Yeah, to get rid of the
advert. What do you get for it? Oh, right, okay.
No annoying adverts, and you can favourite units. So if you building lists quite a lot and you use a unit loads, like like a really complicated unit to build, I don't know, like let's say like a Smash Captain with the chaplain with like all the particular things, like you can favourite that loadout. So every list you write, you can just go that chaplain.
I didn't know you could do that. That's fucking cool. Yeah. So I subscribe to Battlescribe because I use it all the time. Like, I don't have loads and loads of money in my life, but I feel like for something that I use regularly all of the time, it deserves my money. They work on that model, right? They're like, if you like what we do, then fucking like support us, and that's how we work on as a model as well. So I'm like, cool, like I'm in on that. So I think that's probably the best 40k money you can spend. £5 a year on Battlescribe feels like the best 40k money you can spend.
It's very good value, yeah. I think.
Like you don't, I mean, it's value you don't even have to spend. So if you can't afford it, you don't even have to spend it. And I think that's a massive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's free if you want to.
Yeah. And I think it's a very valuable tool personally. But the other thing that got announced today was that if you're not allowed to include Forge World models. Tom, you'll be happy about this, in the army list. So you can't include Forge World models in the army list that you share to win an army.
What?
Did you hear that?
I did. We're waiting for 4 days for the vote to come in. I've been out there whipping the vote. I feel like that's just because it's too expensive, right? Let's be honest. That's the only reason why we're doing it. But even then,
I think it's maybe the competitions come from the arm of Games Workshop that doesn't like Forge World, so
they don't Forge World. They're giving away.
Well, yeah, they don't want Forge World to make money. Well, no, they're supposed to not making money, are they? Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know why. It's such a weird decision.
It's so weird. It's super weird. Like, that's all I can think about it. When I saw that stipulation, don't include any Forge World models, I'm like, that's super. Like, are they optimized to work in the app? Is anything optimized to work in the app? Like,
or maybe
the app optimized. No.
Maybe they just don't. Maybe they don't want someone to win who's like, oh well, my army is 2 Fire Raptors and something.
I just don't want to have to assemble a Fire Raptor. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's the main issue.
Oh, it's just a Warhound Titan. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can put that on the table. That's fine. But me, I'm never going to assemble that pile of shit.
Anyway, it just made me laugh when I saw that today. I was like, okay. But good luck to everyone who enters, and I really do hope someone wins like a nice big army. That's cool. Just don't forget to unsubscribe once you've done your bit.
Yeah, once you've got your army. Yeah.
Once you've got your army. But that made me laugh. I chuckled at the Forge World thing a lot. And it's also weird. It's also, I don't know. It's also weird that it's that the app to build your army from the company who makes the game is being run very similar to a Girls Only Fans Twitter account. Like, it's like, could you not do any better than this? Is this the best you got? Whatever.
Yeah, dudes only fans are way better. Yeah. They make it work.
Anyway, made me laugh. That's some of my favourite things about it. Yeah. There's a vote at the minute, Tom, isn't there?
The vote finishes on the 21st.
Do you want to explain to people what that means? What's going on?
The captains of all the WTC teams are currently voting on whether or not they want to include Forge World at the WTC.
Interesting. Previously wasn't allowed, or was?
Wasn't previously. It's been allowed since 9th edition dropped, and people have been playing with it. And I've been running around whipping votes, trying to get people to vote now.
You've been influencing the vote, just like a Russian spy?
Or just as an advert.
Can I ask why? Why are you so vehemently opposed, or are you whipping the vote, or is it just
because I can't be fucked to learn the current books, never mind any new ones?
Okay, that seems fair. Are you worried about Forge World fringe cases like dominating the game, like we saw with?
Or just having rules that actually don't make sense, or having an extra book that I need to learn, along with a load of FAQ questions that need answering by other captains.
That's fair. That's super fair.
So I've talked to a few guys about it.
Although that would be sad, because that Levy Dread list that we saw the other day, the Iron Hands one, that would be a shame to see something as cool as that not play. Because I enjoyed that. I thought that was a cool list, at least. I'm not saying like it wasn't a negative play experience. It's not like harrowing to play against, but I just thought it looked super cool. So
I think it's got bad matchups though.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've got nothing like its veracity in a tournament isn't really what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the creativity of it on the tabletop.
Sure, but it still has to be very, at least reasonably voracious to see play at WTC, you'd think, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
That's
So.
true. That's a good argument. Absolutely.
Oh, wait, sorry, the captain's not answering our picky questions. I thought of some of the big things you made him vote. My bad. Sorry, Neil. My mistake. You should vote no to save yourself from answering those questions, mate. I think you'd appreciate it.
Tom, are you a whip? Are you a WTC
I've already
whip?
been around multiple teams getting him to vote, trying to get him to vote no. So
are you
yeah,
the major whip?
I'm trying to. I mean, I don't want to read a book, so I'd rather just message people saying vote no, kiddos, and then leave.
I really enjoy that. I really enjoy Tom's a political player.
Tom's leading the Lever campaign.
Yeah, vote no, dickheads.
Who's in the Remainer campaign for Forge World?
My question is, oh, go on.
I mean, technically, Remain is just no Forge World, right?
I'm sure. I'm not sure. Yeah. That's right.
Status
That's
quo.
right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to muddy the water with the conversation. I was more. I was just enjoying you being like a lobbyist, and I wonder how much. I wonder how much Forge World would have to give you in models, Tom, to make you switch and lobby for them.
It depends on.
Are we in the age of Games Workshop lobbyists? Is what I'm asking. Like, and also, like, you understand how political lobbyists effectively work, or special interest lobbyists work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You deploy your best cocksucker, and then you just set them loose upon the world, which is why I'm currently whipping the vote.
Yeah, but do you hear how Games Workshop are worth like more than the English fishing industry?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, sort of. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've not got a love for Games Workshop corporate, but I feel like I'd make a fucking great Warhammer lobbyist. You know, like I'd be like in the politician's ear talking to Bojo. I'd be like, listen, we need to sort out plastic import. We need to get the numbers down on plastic import.
Bojo. my ultimate better. Here he comes.
Ixtab says you really need some carrot and stick ammo to whip, not just I can't be asked with the rules argument. Ixtab says.
I mean, it's been working so far, so I can't really complain, Just so long as it gets the votes, I don't care.
Tom's appealing to the laziness of people.
Yeah,
Feel strong.
Love it.
The New York Catering Union, says Papa Peen, and also big love to you, hope you're well, kept MMA out of New York State for 20 years, all because of their one lobbyist.
Nice.
How insane is that? That's nice. Yeah, the big plastic. That's right. I'm going to represent big plastic. Big pharma. Now there's big plastic. I think that's Ishik. I think
Big
Pizza
porn.
Guardian is Ishik. That's awesome. It's nice to see him.
Is it Ishik?
Yeah, I think so. Because earlier on he said he offered to put your face on some terrain.
Please don't do that. That'd be horrible.
Oh, please put Tom's face on terrain.
Oh my god.
Mate, back
yes.
into one of the boards at the T-Sports Arena.
Please put Tom's face on terrain.
The terrain is just my face.
See, that's one of the things I want to. That's one of the things I want to do with the 3D printer. I obviously want to print all of our faces.
You know how I've got that skull terrain, mate?
Huh?
You know how I've got that skull terrain for League of Knights?
Yeah.
Replace skulls with just our domes.
Just our faces.
Yeah.
So
like a Mount Rushmore, but
yeah,
our three faces.
Actually, Scott B's right. If Games Workshop were going to lobby, the thing that they would lobby against hardest would be 3D printers.
They would.
Like, there would be some sort of insane rule where no 3D printing was allowed, or you had to go through get a license. Yeah, Nick, you're right. Yeah, they get a cut of the license or something like that. That makes loads of sense. Big Plastic is against 3D printers.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to start talking. Anyone who I know works Games Workshop, I'm going to tell them now they work for Big Plastic. That's my favourite new gag.
I mean, they're not model vloggers anymore. They're just Big Plastic.
Well, so, I mean, the model vlogger vlog is still absolutely available, yeah, and it's really on brand for them.
It's
like,
just
there's so many good gags.
It's just the content arm of Big Plastic, though. Let's be honest.
It's the content arm of Big Plastic. As I sit here painting Big Plastic, in love with the game of Big Plastic.
We'll still criticise Big Plastic.
Always, until I end up with. In a hotel room that's been locked with 2 sprues in the back of my head. Yeah.
You Sudoku'd yourself with those 2 sprues.
Paint handles where paint
First
handles
one wasn't enough, so you
really
had to do another one.
paint handles all over my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inserted into his various orifices.
Anyway, it's been nice seeing people share those army lists though, and I really do hope someone ends up winning like a really cool army. That would be like at
We need
least
to find
for
them
one.
and verify, make sure they actually got a prize.
Huh?
We need to find them and verify, make sure they actually got a prize.
Yeah, and that they're real.
Yeah, they're not just a bot
working for Big Plastic, a Russian bot working for Big Plastic.
That's how the Russian team got so good.
K-Red, I hate crack deal as well. Smoking crack. I don't hate anyone. That's unfair. Criticize and be jovial about. Tom?
Yeah.
Next year, if you were going to collect a new army for 40k, like what would take your fancy?
Can I grab my webcam a second?
Sure. Yeah, hope so.
What army would class as new?
Well, okay. Well, what is okay? All right. Well, I'll switch the question up to make it a little easier. Of all the codexes that we haven't heard any announcements for yet, which is the one you're most excited about? Like which is
Craft Worlds? It's got to be
Yeah.
Craft Worlds, man. Like I need to wait for that book to drop them, and I'll see. But I'm kind of intrigued for Chaos as well to drop, because they are kind of a mess with just keywords everywhere at the minute. I kind of want to see them drop and see what happens. But yeah, I just want to see Craft Worlds. I want to see how they look.
Sorry, who dropped? Because they're
Chaos as well. Chaos.
Oh, yeah.
It's the second faction that I'm really interested to see.
Is it the Chaos Space Marine book, or like a particular faction like Thousand Suns?
Just Chaos Space Marine book. I would hope the Thousand Sons of the Death Guard end up as supplements, but I know they're not going to now. But it is what it is.
I would like to see the Chaos Space Marine book end up with some. Hold on, before I say this, because obviously that's some fucking absolutely like prisoner who's been kept for too long and has started to love his captor sort of statement I was about to make. I would like to see the Chaos Space Marine book get the same level of love as the Space Marine book, therefore get supplements. Again, already, I don't know why I said that. I don't want extra supplements, but whatever. Do you know what I mean?
I want to buy more books.
Yeah, what a stupid statement I was about to make. What I'm trying to say is, though, it would be cool to see them get, like, a lot of love in that core book and then some additional bits on top, and see some of those, like, factions that, just see them expanded more, like we have seen with the Marine range. Or do you think that's over the top?
I kind of want the opposite. I kind of want them to take some factions out of the Chaos Space Marine book. So obviously Death Guard are getting their own codex. Thousand Suns are likely to get their own codex. I'd like to see stuff like the World Eaters get their own separate codex that's separate to the Chaos Space Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And Emperor's Children as well. I'd like to see them get a separate one. You can keep stuff like Iron Warriors and Word Bearers in the Chaos Space Marine book, I think, because I don't think they have as much unique flavour as things like Emperor's Children and World Eaters. So that's what I'd like to see.
Okay, that seems fair. I mean, do you not think, like, I know the Horus Heresy books have been out for a long time now, but with the Horus Heresy from, like, the 30k game, do you not feel like some of the, like, Night Lords being an example, they haven't got their own, they've never had their own...
Oh, Night Lords as well, yeah.
Yeah, like Night Lords. Like, Night Lords are a fucking Space Marine fact. They're, like, at one point as big as the Space Wolves. Like, they should have as much narrative, as much lore. Like, they've got loads to them. They've got a Primarch, they've got all that fucking gubbins. So they should get, like, a fucking book, like Blood Angels and Space Wolves at least. They should be treated at that level, is what I'm trying to say. And it would be funky.
Yes.
It would be funky to see them get that level of love. Even if that Games Workshop's version of that level of love is a supplement in addition. So, like, if that's the system, then fine. But I think that would be cool to see, like, personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
And because I think it's a shame that it's just the Chaos Space Marine book. So, but then there's a lot of rumours, isn't there, that, like, over this edition, however long it's going to be, which will probably be 3 years, we're going to see both Angron and Fulgrim. Over the that's.
I hope so. Yeah. I really like the idea of seeing the Fulgrim model. I think that'd be really cool.
How would you feel about it being diversified out like we've seen with the Death Guard and Thousand Suns, Tom? So they've got their own unique units and that. Would you be happy with that? Is that the right way to take it?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, I'd love it. Yeah, same with Space Wolves and Dark Angels and what have you. I think that'd be really cool. I really like to see some unique stuff of those things.
me too. I think a whole range would be like the right way to take it, like you do with Death
Yeah.
Guard, 1,000 Suns.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can still do that as a supplement, though. Like Space Wars have lots of unique units, still a supplement. Whereas Thousand Suns only really have like Araman and Zangor, and then it's a Codex. So I don't really get it, but
yeah. Malfian 1 says, I love Night Lords and we get slept on so hard. You really do. And Iron Hands are pretty unique, really. Like, they're assault masters. You know, I mean, Iron Hands are arguably far more... Wait, Iron Hands? Iron Warriors. We're talking Iron Warriors.
Iron Warriors, yeah. I really like the Iron Warrior colour scheme, but I don't think really they... Like, there's no...
They got big Mechanicum robots. Well, Pretaraba used to go around with, like, some fucking... his inner circle used to have, like, big chonk robots who he built himself. So you could have some, like, bastardization of those, like, later on. And they're also, like, Siege Masters. Just get them with some sort of, like, fist. Marines with giant demon fists that, like, punch walls down, which is totally useless but awesome. You know? Something, I don't know. I think you could really have fun with it, personally.
Could do.
Yeah, it could do. Full supplement level support for each traitor legion would be amazing. Like Nico said, keep the good aligned cult legions in their own books, but all the undivided legions should get supplements. I think that's the right way to take it, personally, Nick. I think that would be far more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, they've arguably got so much more creative range to take any of the the traitor legions. Like, so much more. Like, they can demonize. So you mix corn demons with marines. Go. They can make completely new directions, because marines are kind of more pigeonholed into, you know, they have the codex and there's rules, and if you deviate from those rules, then it's heresy and you're not allowed to do that. Whereas chaos can do whatever the fuck they want, because they're chaos. And you could be like, oh, well, this, like, Fabius Bile made this weird mutation and then created a whole army of disgusting things.
Yeah. Like,
so they could be a faction with, like, loads of brand new models.
They could easily do so much more out of chaos. And I think that they're going to, right? I think one of my thoughts about how much we got from the Marines was simply because they're like, this is how much we're going to support model rangers in the future. And so when we do get some of these new factions, I think it's going to be nuts. Personally, I think it's going to be a load of stuff, which is genuinely quite exciting. I got a question, Tom and Nick. Like, would you be? How would you feel about it if the Traitor Legion specifically, they were a lot harder to create soups with, and mixed attachments? What would you think?
Well, I feel like if you. Like, one Traitor Legion mixing up with another Traitor Legion makes sense to me, but having like 3 or 4 in the same army just feels very weird.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would, to a degree, yes. No, you're fine.
I would prefer, in general, the game to go more monofaction anyway, so I'm happy if they limit it. Because, Chaos's strength in 8th edition, and I don't think it was intended, was the fact that you could soup a lot and you could get a lot of crazy, weird combos going off. I would, like I said, I would prefer things to go a bit more mono focused, so you just have a nice themed army. But like Tom said, it would make narrative sense that they do work together, similar to Space Marine chapters work together.
Yeah, I just don't want my Death Guard army to work better because it's got 1,000 Suns in it. That doesn't I feel like that's a failure on the Death Guard book, for example. And I want to see each one of those separate out so they can't work as well together, or they and maybe just even make it so that they can't work together. I think would be my preference. Ultimately, just because I think you end up with like a more thematic game, which is kind of more fun and surely easier to balance. Right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah,
you're just like fucking with the Death Guard stuff. Like, you know, if you take, let's say, warp time away, or you change it for 1,000 Suns, then you're also affecting Death Guard if they're utilizing that all the time. Whereas if you just have it for just one army, then it's much, much easier. So
definitely.
Yeah, I think it'd be more fun to see on the tabletop as well. Ultimately, Neil in the chat says, personally never liked Super or Allying. Always felt that 40k is too small scale for those kinds of armies to appear. Apocalypse or Epic, sure. 40k, no. I feel that's super fair. I think that makes loads of sense. Yes Meatball says, I'd like to, within Chaos Allies Matrix, some factions hate each other, some respect could be reflected in soup buffs or nerfs. Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. Again, I don't think I'd like to see it in how armies are built in 40k, ultimately. Which is weird, though, because if you ask me the same question about Imperium, my opinion completely changes. So I feel like I was speaking to Darren from, Karen from Danhammer.
Karen from Danhammer, yeah.
Yeah. I was speaking to him the other day, and one of the questions, one of the things he said is he'd like to see rules for, like, a single custody to be in a force. Because narratively, that makes tons of sense, like as an agents in the Imperium sort of thing. Yeah. I was like, fuck yeah. Yeah, and not even like a captain, just a custody. And I was like, yeah, that makes loads of sense. Like, I want to see Inquisition models in an army without it fucking stuff up. So they've got the agents, the Imperium rule, which is cool. And I'm vibing with that. I think that's fun. But, I don't hate the idea. I know it was terrible last edition, when you would end up with a bunch of guardsmen, specifically 32 guardsmen, with the rest of an army. But also it kind of made sense and I enjoyed it, right?
Mm-hmm. And so a weird, I very often would have 1,000 Suns Sorcerer in my list, specifically just to buff some Khorne dudes. And obviously Khorne famously hates magic, so it's like a weird going up against the narrative of all the units. But because it made my army better, I did it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, make the armies good enough that you don't have to do it anyway, but also probably just don't allow it. And if you don't allow it, then you're forcing yourself to have to make the armies good enough in their own right, which kind of makes sense.
I mean, you could just make the armies good enough in their own right, but if you still allow that kind of stuff, you'll still see it. Just because, I mean, they might be good enough, they might be pretty good as is, but by adding that stuff, you can always make it better.
Yeah, exactly.
So just don't allow it.
So just flat ban it, arguably. One of the questions from Malfian 1, which I quite like, is how would you feel about Chaos having free agents the way Imperium has Inquisitors and Assassins, etc.? Got me really excited about Chaos Assassins. Fuck yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That would be super
cool. Imagine what they could do.
Cool.
Yeah, they probably not much based on the rest of the Chaos rules, but that would be funky. I think that would be really fun. I like the idea of Cypher. I love the idea of him having some sort of agent sort of rule where he can just be in any army and he just turns up with just double guns. You don't really know what he's up to. He just being in Cypher on some sort of secretive mission.
He could still be taken in both Chaos and Imperial armies, right?
Pretty certain. He's got both keywords.
He used to be able to,
Although you can't do just Imperium keywords or just Chaos keyword, can you? So I think his utility is a lot lower. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was just tipping sand over an Acheron.
Okay. Hey, Snubsy, hope you're well. The Agents of Bile to mix things up, but it's hardly an army. They do have Agents of Bile. Yeah, they do. I think having Agents of Chaos like you have Agents of the Imperium is actually a really cool idea. I think that would work quite nicely, and it means you could mix it up a bit, but without properly mixing it up, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, and they could limit it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That'd be super fun. Have to have him in his own detachment with 3 units of Fallen, says Ret Santi. So that's what you got to do if you're going to take Cypher. But I wouldn't mind it if Cypher could just come out, run around on his own. Because that's basically what he's been doing in the galaxy for 10,000 years. So I would love to see him just dashing around. You could make the game so cool, man. You could have so many funky little overlapping rules if you could be asked. Or you're being paid to do, which I'm not trying. Anyway, you guys got anything you want to bring up?
True.
Well, I asked for some hobby questions on the Twitters, so I'll see what is on there.
There are a couple more about, but we might have already covered. Just so you know. On there.
Yeah. Owen Jackson asked about contrast paints. If we ever used contrast paints, and if there's any way we recommended. I've never used a contrast paint in my life.
Same.
However, Gozzy is a big fan of the orange contrast. He swears by it. He says it's the best paint that's ever existed. So I know that's a good one.
Okay.
So I like using them as base coats a lot of the time. I also like to use them with metals because you know how you can wash a metal and make it more brown or make it more black or something. I often use it just to colorize my metals, right? So I'll put a silver on, and then I'll just like put like a layer of the yellow contrast on. It makes it look gold. So I use that a lot, specifically with like just my Primarchs or what have you, or painting like metals based off that, right? Where it just tints the metal for you. It's quite useful for that.
That's cool. That's cool. Like a lot like the old Forge World paintings that they used to do, where you did the same thing.
Sure, maybe.
You would just stick it over metals. Okay.
Yeah,
that's fun. Yeah, I've never used contrast paints at all, but then I don't. Yeah, I don't fuck with that sort of stuff at the minute. Basically, like
shit.
I've normally started most of the armies that I've started, so like I've normally started them in that more traditional paint scheme. Maybe in the future I'll start an army in a different paint style. But like I feel like a lot of the things that I see with the contrast paints are use their funky base spray and then like maybe
I never use a funky base spray.
Like,
never do that.
Well, okay, a good example would be the Imperial Fist, right? So they're like, spray it in our funky paint spray, which is however fucking much money. You're like, okay, yeah, sweet. And they're like, then cover it in this contrast paint. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, why don't I spray it yellow as a base color? Because you can do that. And then just give it a wash in some sort of yellow tone. And then I'm already further ahead on the line than the other way around. And it looks better. So I never really got the process personally. It seems weird.
Yeah. It seems like I think they're just more. It's an idea that they thought about for people who really, really can't be bothered to paint, but need or want to get some paint on there at least. Then it's a process that people can just slop paint on, and it gets a reasonable effect. At least. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them. Well, I've never really tried them that much. So yeah.
And I've never been interested to try them as well. Grimslacker says I don't use the base spray. I just have some standard Vallejo and little bone white. They cover the hair and stuff on Skaven. It's cool. That works. If it's just like a paint that you enjoy. Contrast with medium is great for washes and glazes. So effectively, it's just a range of color washes that you can just medium up. All right, it's good that there's that. Ultimately. I'm currently using Army Painter green tone, so I'm painting up some skulls on my Death Guard, and I just do an ivory by Vallejo, and then I've just banged green tone over it. That's it, and it's just a wash to give it like a necrotic skin, as opposed to painting a necrotic skin. So super simple, not very complicated.
While we're on that, has anyone tried the Army Painter metallic paints yet? The coloured ones, the new coloured ones, like the purple metallic or the the new Army Paint metallics.
Oh no, I haven't used those at all.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if they're any good. That was all, because they look cool.
That's a great question. No, I haven't tried those. I haven't tried those yet. Like, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, when you're doing an army, it's like, well, I'm not using any different colours because I'm using these colours for my army for the next however fucking long till my army's done. And then I will come back to a different paint scheme. Do you tend to like fuck around with different colours while you're doing an army?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah, dude! Like I'll do a colour. I'll see if I like it, and then if I don't like it, I'll paint over it.
Oh no, sorry. What I more mean is like, do you like once you've decided on your paint scheme?
Oh right.
You won't then dip out and just randomly just add blue to a different dude, will you?
For squad, not unless I'm doing it for squad markings. In which case I have to do it for the points, but that's about it.
Yeah, same. That's what I'm trying to say. I never do that. Like, so I'm doing my Death Guard now. I'm like, these are the paints. I'm never changing. I won't need to do anything else other than these. A little bit. Go on.
And that's good to keep the army. You want to keep the army palette nice and consistent, really, unless the army lends itself to having lots of random different colours. Like Harlequins might be good at that. Orcs
Chaos
could be good at that. So, Chaos could be.
Yeah.
But generally, stuff like Marines, you want the army palette to be the same, so it looks nice and cohesive.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, has my lady from Sword and Steel tried the metal paints from Army Painter? You should ask her. She is.
Oh, ask. Yeah.
She's an angel who loves Gargants.
Who's that? Sorry, who am I talking to?
Naomi Steele from Sword and Steel.
Okay, I'll have a look on Twitter.
She's on YouTube. She's on the YouTubes. She's a Canuck who does. She managed to make me not be salty once, Tom.
Oh, that's not possible.
What?
About Gargants.
Oh my god. She's got a superpower.
Well, I was mainly just being polite because I didn't want to offend some lady I hadn't met before. Hey, Gozzy, what up? Wet
Yo,
blending
Gozzy.
with contrast paints is great fun, says K-Dread. Okay, so you can use it for wet blending. Again, not something... The only wet blending I've ever done is with fire. So I've done some fire wet blending before, which I found quite enjoyable. And you probably enjoy it a lot more with a wet palette now I've got one. But I haven't done anything else with a blender. Yeah, which is quite fun. She's the lady who did shout at me about Gargants. Tom, I've not tried army painted metallics yet, but the regular ones are probably the best on the market.
I've got some of these Vallejo metals, which I'm quite enjoying, but I'll try out the army painted ones as well.
My favourite silver in all the land is army painted gunmetal.
Okay.
Best silver you can buy, in my opinion.
Fair enough, I'll give that a try.
It just never. You know how sometimes the metals tend to like get a bit thick or like they fuck around or like. Do you know what I mean? They're just a bit weird sometimes.
Yeah.
This one never. I've had nothing but positive things to ever say about it.
That's good, man. I'll give it a try.
That's my boy. That's my boy. When I got to do silver. Nick, have you got a silver that you love?
Not really. I just kind of like use the ones that I have. I've got a Games Workshop one. I've got a Foundry Paints one. The Foundry Paints one isn't particularly good. I wouldn't recommend that one. The Games Workshop one is quite good, but I've not really tried any of the other ones. So yeah, that's my thing.
Down the Great Grey McCann says, I'm trying to use Agrex on my Death Guard to look like stains on the armour. I personally would try that Streaking Grind, bud. Super fun.
Back we go to the Streaking Grind. Here we go.
Apparently Vallejo metal colour are the best. No contrast.
That's what I've got. So that's what Wallace recommended me while we're at Firestorm.
So are they the acrylic colour ones, or are they a different type of metal?
There you go. Yeah, it's acrylic. Here you go. This is a white aluminium.
Oh, okay. So they come in a different bottle.
Yeah. They come in a big fat bottle.
Never
This has been keeping me going for ages. Then there's what's this one called? It's just called Silver, but it's been keeping me going for a while with my Grey Knights.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they're good.
Wait, so Zyguy says there was a YouTube video of me showing some contrast experiments on plague monks in Hebrew
nice.
to help the little kids get into painting here. That's
cool.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah, that's fun. The acrylics, yes, they are crazy good. A lot of people, big fan, Tom, of whatever you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I'll give the Army Paint one a try and see what I like more.
Right, that'll be fun. Because we're all hobby gods now, basically.
It is true. We do hobby streams. That's how you know.
We could do hobby streams. That's how you.
Do we need to solve another hobby problem?
Yeah. What's the next hobby problem, Nick?
Okay, so can you talk about types of spray cans and different types of tops for all of us without an airbrush?
What?
I have an airbrush, so that's for me.
I have an airbrush, but I've never used it.
Too scary. Is it too scary?
Too scary. I've got all the stuff. Yeah. I've got the mask. I've got like the pot thing. Yeah, I've got paints. I've got everything, but I've never done it.
You're right. I've used it a couple of times, and guess what? Scary as shit. Like, I'm with you. Just don't bother. Yeah. Just fucking. I saw some mentalist. So Pete the Wargamer. He's been on the show before. I went on his channel the other day, or Twitch. He was on Twitch live, and he was airbrushing. This blew my mind. He was airbrushing, like on a backpack on a marine, the bottom vent, of the thing. And I was like, just fucking brush it. Yeah. Like we got 8.5 weeks. You ain't got time for this. You got to do 900 marines. Yeah,
cracking up with a sledgehammer.
What the fuck am I watching here? Yeah, and then he picked off in the lovely bloke, by the way, makes amazing miniatures. They look beautiful. In the 15 or 20 minutes I was watching, the totality of paint I saw put on that model was a bit of airbrushed on a vent, and then fucking he was moving around some putty stuff around it, cleaning out an airbrush. That's the totality of what I saw in 20 minutes. I was like, fucking what numbers are you on? We ain't got time for this. Who's got time for that? To get his army done by 10th edition. It's not to call him out. Wonderful guy. Great dude. Loved it. But that was just too far for me. So, if you're scared of airbrushes, 3D printing might be a bit much. 3D printers I don't mind. Because, it prints the thing, right? It's fucking easy. Yeah. Airbrush, I've got control. Yeah, I'm not into it. That's what I'm trying to say. ultimately.
Yeah, computers do the most work with the 3D printer, whereas you're relying on your
Arm.
your arm and brain to control things, which is scary.
A problem, yeah.
So what was the question?
So the question was, can you talk about different types of spray cans and different tops?
All right, go for it.
I don't understand. I know there's like different tops. Like one's like a small thing that sticks into a tube and you press down, and then one's like more flat, built into the can. I honestly don't know what the names are or what the difference is. So I'm sorry. I think his name's Jens. I'm sorry. I don't know the answer. So we've failed someone.
Well, I don't know what his problem is. You just buy a colour can of whatever paint you want and just fucking bang it on. That's it.
Press down. Give it a shake. Press down. There you go.
I don't know what else. I don't know what else is everyone talking about. This is my problem. Can I tell you what I think my problem is with painting? Yeah, right. And not to disrespect any painters out there in the world, is all the painters are too good. Like, what did I just saw Papa Peen say? He says Vince Montrella's airbrushing hobby cheat instructional video is him airbrushing highlights on a sword that already has highlights on and looks god tier painted. You show that to a new kid, yeah, he's like, I'll never finish this Marine. I'm like, no, you won't. You'll never play a fucking game with that attitude. That's what you do. You spray it silver, dry brush it a colour, you fucking bang on some other colour, you stick it on a base, you take it to a tournament, you know it looks shit, but now you're playing a game, right? That's what you're doing. That's what you're there for.
Job's done.
Yeah? Everyone else, like, there's people sat at home, they're like, so I've Zenithal highlighted it. Yeah? You're like, okay, good. Well done. Well done. Now what? It's like, now I'm just going to underpin it. You're like, fucking come on, Christ. How long are you going to take to do this? And they're like, I've never finished an army. Well, that's why. That's why you've never finished an army. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach. Fucking spray it a colour from a spray can, dry brush it some other fucking colour, paint the eyes, get it on the table. I'm fed up of this.
That's Rob's
Goblin green
That's
base.
fantastic.
Fucking suck at this.
Someone's going to clip that now. It's going to be fantastic. Spray it, dry brush it, eyes, bang.
Bang!
Yeah.
Get it on the table and start playing some games and realising how fun it is. And then after that, you can become a hobby god of your dreams. Like, look at you, Tom. When I first met you, you were shake baking models.
I still am shake baking models, Rob.
Which is putting models in.
But you've got other things in your arsenal now.
Yeah, like crystals.
Yeah, I mean, you're still doing
Crystals,
horrific
batch
things.
painting.
Yeah, batch painting. You're doing all sorts now, Tom. Look at
Vallejo
that stomper
metals.
behind you. Vallejo metals. Yeah, you're such a different person. Yeah, but you still get armies on the tabletop, right, Tom?
Do I? What army have I got on the tabletop in the last year?
Well, no one has. There's been a pandemic, Tom.
True. I mean, okay, let's try 2 years. Let's go further. Whatever. It's fine. We'll
You
make it
rolled
work.
art, didn't you? Wait, didn't you? Haven't you put like your custodies on the tabletop?
Yeah, but they were contrast painted.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm not against contrast painting. Did
Okay,
you
fair
spray
enough.
them beforehand?
Probably.
Did you dry brush any of them?
I greased them all up. Yep. No, I didn't dry brush them. I washed them though.
Like Nick, with your 120 watt boys, did you Zenithal highlight them?
No.
Why are we doing a hobby stream again?
Because we're brilliant at it. People need to hear this side of the
This
hobby.
is
I did
realistic
paint
hobby.
it with a sponge though.
Yeah, there you go. Nicholas taught me how to sponge things.
And you want to see the brush that I mainly use to paint my orcs?
Please do.
Like one of the main brushes was this brush. I don't know if you could see that.
That's fucking huge.
I can't see it. Right, I don't know.
It's fucking huge.
Yeah.
It's not got a point on it.
No, it's
Nicholas,
like
do you
a
want to
flat,
see my- do you
messed
want to
up
see-
brush.
Do you want to see what I made? Thanks to Nikos.
What?
There you go. Yeah.
What
Snap.
is this?
I've got
Why
one.
have you two made stupid large brushes?
That's not a brush. That's a sponge glued to
Yeah,
brush.
it's a sponge on a brush. Look, there's mine, Tom. There you go.
There you go. I use this as my stomper. That's not a brush, Nikos. That's not a sponge, is it?
Yeah, it
That's
is.
What the
something
fuck is
else.
that? So what do you use a
That's a
sponge
pregnancy test, is what that is.
Yeah,
What
this
do
is
you
a
use a sponge
COVID
for?
test.
All right, okay, close enough. I used that on my stomper, mate. It's back here. I'll show you. Give me a sec.
for? Please do. Please do.
I just need to get these sanded bases out of the way. 1 second.
And how did you find using the sponge, Tom?
Ah! Don't drop it, Tom. Don't drop it. We've already done this on the show once. Ah, we got it. Okay. So, basically, I just daubed around the edges of the each metal plate with the sponge.
Ah,
And
that looks
I found
great,
it was
buddy.
weird because what ended up happening was the sponge would eventually come off because of all the water would just, dissolve the glue. But you replace it with more sponge and it was fine. So, you know,
More,
it makes
more
sense.
sponge is the answer.
More
Are
sponge.
you now mainly a sponge painter?
No, Nikos just told me it might be a good idea, so I did it, and it was a good idea. So we love it.
Okay, it looks really good. You know.
Yeah, I'm pleased with
Are
it,
you,
mate.
are
I
you
can't wait
happy
to
with
get it
how
on
it
the
turned
table.
out?
Yeah, man. I haven't played with it since I finished painting it. I played with it when it's almost finished. I played Nikos with it, but since then, haven't played with it.
But when we get them finished, we will be. We can
Stomper
then
Bros
finally
list.
be the Stomper Bro
Yeah,
list.
we're just gonna take a bunch of stompers to the GT and see if any of us can qualify in top 4 with it.
That's all it is. Just 3 people trying that hard. If one of us gets knocked out early game, they just need to then coach the
Yeah.
like turn up to their match, shake
drop
hands,
out.
be like, cool. Yeah. We can also just organise our own 28-man GT if we fancied.
Can do.
Just organise
Yeah.
that. That'd be easier.
And each of us take turns dropping out to let the other person win.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, we're gonna make Nikos the ITC champion.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Well, listen, it's been a few hours.
Oh.
I've really enjoyed this. Go on.
Should we just
Nick.
finish off these questions really, really quick fire though?
We don't
Like
even have to do it
one
quick.
or two word accents.
I've got nowhere to go. I just
Okay.
it was more for you two. Is what I was thinking of.
Okay, well, I need to go soon. I'm pretty tired, but yeah.
Go for it.
So we got some more. So this is from 40k Bunny on Twitter. To marble or not to marble?
What does he mean?
I don't know.
I
what
don't
that
really
means.
know. I don't know. Maybe marble bases or marble armor. I would say marble.
Yeah, I'll go for marble based on nothing.
Yeah, marble.
Tom?
I don't know. I still don't know. What that means.
Agnostic on the marble question.
Yeah, agnostic. Yeah. We don't know.
Good.
Rob Edwards asks. He's already asked about magnets. What sort of
Yeah.
size? Basically, it depends what you're doing. Thicker the better, because thinner ones are probably too weak. So deeper ones, basically, would be my short answer to that.
I would actually argue for magnets that require a power supply.
Oh my word, that sounds powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good one. Depends what you're using it for.
Yeah.
And this is a question from a lovely young man on Twitter, Wark Mildman. It's not really a question. He just said that we're all brilliant and he loves us all.
I think that is a question. I'm not entirely sure if he knows.
Yeah, what's the question?
No,
Right.
he's not really put a question. He just says that he loves us all. He thinks we're all awesome.
Oh, that's really nice. Thanks, Mark Wildman. Really good painter. I think he won Best Painter in the Army at Battlefield Birmingham
I
2000.
think that's debatable.
18. Yeah, it was debatable. I actually heard he bribed the judge, so awkward. Yeah. Any other hot fire questions?
So Marcus, Faces and Bases, he's asking, what's the cut-off point for selling an unused army? What's the cut-off point? Cut-off point for selling an unused
I didn't realise that when you used an army, it had like a mark on it that devalued it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'd never touch another man's minis. Disgusting.
No, you don't want sloppy seconds, do you?
No, you don't want it. No, that's gross.
Ugh.
I don't think that for an unused army, I guess like a year.
I guess he means I've had an army, I've never used it. When should I sell it? Or
I mean, I've never sold anything, so I don't know.
I don't know. It depends. It depends if it's still relevant, in the game right now. I guess, and if you're intending to play with it, I think is the kind of key feature. One of the things I've thought about recently was if I was to build it or buy a new 40k army, what would I buy? And it definitely would I feel like Games Workshop are going to retcon / completely change some armies, we've seen with Necrons. So I wouldn't pick up anything that's got old sculpts in. I wouldn't buy Boys now, or I wouldn't buy Eldar, or some of the new Drakari kits are newer, but I wouldn't pick any of that up. So it depends what it is. If it falls into that older category, I'd sell it now. I'd be selling your Eldar armies, your Drakari armies, and those sorts of things. I'd be getting them out of the door because I think that they're going to get revamped very soon, arguably. So yeah.
You definitely need to. Yeah, you definitely need to evaluate it on the Warhammer stock market. If it's low, possibly keep it though. Because I agree. Yes, some of the new if you've already got the army, I think is what he's more talking about rather than investing in an army now. If you already have it, if it's not very popular, probably keep it because eventually its turn might come round. But if it's an army that's riding high currently, then sell it. Get more money out.
Stonks.
Yeah. I'd sell anything that's not current. Personally, I just get rid. because I think it's going to be like invalidated or outdated effectively. Like if they don't give a shit about like how you feel about your old Marines being fucked over, they truly don't give a shit about your other models. So like that's something you need to think about. Any other questions?
No, I think that was it.
Oh, nice. That's a pretty successful hobby show.
Yeah,
we talked about hobby.
Yeah,
got a lot of stuff done there. Yeah.
Well done, everyone.
We've helped a lot of people and solved
Well
a lot
done.
of hobby problems. I think we've made the world a better place by being
It's
here.
like Gardener's World, but for nerds.
Mm-hmm. So don't forget, at least Rob's hobby advice is spray a colour, dry brush it, give it some eyes. Fuck it, even goggly eyes, whatever. Get it on a table. That's mine. That's my... I might make that just a single YouTube video. Full painting for beginners. It'll just be that. Don't forget, next week we will be doing the 40k show. We are next week we're going to be doing our naughty or nice list. Which yeah, that's going to be really fun. Our Christmas naughty or nice list for 40k. I'm looking forward to that. So please do tune in then. Nick, you got any 40k plans this week that you can legally talk about?
I've got some secret 40k plans, but that's a top secret that is on a need-to-know basis.
Yeah, that's true. Tom,
all I'm willing to say.
Tom, you got any 40k plans or anything?
Yeah, I'm hoping to get most of my... I'm hoping that next week can come back to you guys, and I've done a lot of my Imperial cabinet, so hopefully I can talk about that, but otherwise you can bully me for doing nothing. So, you know, either way, hopefully I get a lot of stuff done.
I mean, it's the Christmas period. Next Thursday will be Christmas Eve, so if I at least will be here. If Nick and Tom aren't available, then don't worry, it's just going to be me hanging. But it's definitely going to be a show, so do tune in. So that's going to be super fun. There's also a Christmas Day stream, if you're interested. Be live all day on Christmas Day, hanging out. So that'll be super good. And thank you to everyone who's donated some money to help get the 3D printer for the studio fund. Which
thanks, guys.
So we've got 24 quid so far with 5% there.
Pog.
Yeah, big pogs. You got any shout-outs you want to make today, Nicky Gervais?
I wanted to give Baron Saturday a shout-out and all the James Workshop crew. Just say, I miss you guys and I want to play Warhammer soon.
They are great guys.
That's it.
That's really good.
Oh,
Tom?
and also Gozzy.
Oh, of course. Tom, any shout-outs you want to make?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Secondaries in the chat.
Okay. Any reason?
Yeah. Secondaries nuts, boy. There we go.
I can't believe you got me, you prick.
Okay, fine. Thank you for playing along. I appreciate that. Carry on. Keep going.
That worked. Oh dear. Okay. I just want to shout out everyone. You two specifically. Thanks for a great year. You guys are great dudes. So it's been a pleasure.
Thanks to you as well.
You did.
Tune in next week. And goodbye. Thanks to everyone on Patreon. The podcast. Please stay hydrated. Drink loads of water. Drink loads of water even over Christmas. Loads.
Drink 10 litres of water a day.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That's bad.
Big piss.
Drink the appropriate recommended amount of water. Have a great day. Goodbye.